the good news on the newspaper page, and love and tradition of the grand design, some people say is even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls, 'cause all I see is the tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene. Days go by. It's the bigger love of the family.
And with that, we are back. We are back. Back from the hiatus. Like I used to say all the time on the show, politicking on the latest. Welcome back, everybody. There we go. I can bring everybody in. Hey, there we are. There we are. Still waiting for TNT to join us, but not waiting. She's backstage. Let's bring her in as well. There it is. There. Now we're good. Now we're good. Hey, what's up, TNT?
What's up? Happy holidays, everybody.
Same to you. Same to you, except for Phil.
What do you mean?
I'm just going after you before you go after Terrace. That's all.
How do you get sexy? He got the sexy on his name. How do you get that on?
Listen, Terrace and I are like this. So believe me, we're very close. Very close.
Yeah, good to hear everybody. Let me arrange the audio a little bit here and make sure everybody can be heard by the audience. Good to see everybody. How you doing, Phil? Good to see you, bro.
Let me tell you, it's my pleasure to be back.
Got it. Terrace, good to see you as well. The elephant in the room, I like that. Good to see you, bro.
Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here.
Yep. And Kevin Aldrich, the voice of reason, always good to see you.
Team the self-described voice of reason.
I would give it to him too. He's the voice.
Actually, that's incorrect, Phil. Like most of your takes, that moniker on me by the people. You know, so
right.
The people. Okay.
People gave
now
me
that
that
I know,
name.
look. Now that I know you're a man of the people, I bow down and defer to you. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Just like the people named you Sexy Phil. Same way.
Oh no, who named you Sexy Phil? But
it was the people. It was the people. To the audience, thank you for being here. And we are streaming on just two platforms today. We're going straight live to our Hot Mic Facebook page and also Hot Mic YouTube page, just kind of getting the audience ready. As I told you, season 2 starts in January 2026. And one thing that'll be different is we will no longer be streaming directly live on the Nathan Ivy Creative page. It'll be on its own page on Facebook. So just getting people ready for that. If you didn't get the notifications, that's why. So we want to push everybody there that's on Facebook or on YouTube. Either or works good for me. So good to see everybody. Lots to talk about. Man, that was a good break. Had a good time. Got a chance to just, I'll be honest, we ended up working on projects the whole time. But, I did get a chance to just kick back and enjoy some sports and family. So it was a good time. Good time.
Awesome.
And let me see who's in the chat. Good to see you, everybody. Brenda is here. Good to see you, Brenda. Appreciate you so much. And Pamela.
And that was a good
to see you.
We had a good time.
Oh, a little echo there. Dina is here. Good to see you, Dina. And Nat, I really appreciate you. You guys are always showing up for us. Really appreciate you. Just tag people or share it on your pages if you think people might be interested. And let's get started. Let's just jump straight into this story. I halfway wanted to reach out to King Cobra, but I didn't because he was quoted in an article about a story that we'll be talking about to kick things off. And it's all about the usage of a police dog. You guys see this? A teenage suspect was apprehended. Apparently, they had been looking for him, the Cincinnati police, that is. And the night before on his social media, they alleged that they saw this individual in a stolen vehicle with a weapon. And so that justified them going to the house the next day to effect a warrant. And what they did is they let the police dog into the house. And I guess you want to say the perpetrator, for lack of a better word, claims that he was asleep and he got awakened by a police dog that was actually clamped onto his body. And some people are saying that this is another example of police tactics gone too far. Other people are saying, hey, listen, what would you rather have? Would you rather have police go in there guns blazing or a police dog go in there? At least the young person is still alive today. What are you thinking? Here's my question. Should police dogs ever be used inside the home against a teenager? Just to kick things off.
Well, I think that can be somewhat of a loaded question, kind of the way that it's presented. I mean, I think the circumstances matter. Is it a dangerous teenager? Is it a teenager that has a weapon? Is it a teenager accused of a serious crime, or is it a teenager who stole some candy bars from the Kroger? I think context matters in that, in that situation. I mean, based on what the information that I read in the story, and that's all the information that I have to go on. Apparently, the police gave several orders for this young man to come out. It wasn't like they immediately released the dog into the house. The kid didn't comply with the orders to come out. He claimed he was asleep and that he was awoken by the dogs in that situation. I think it's important to note, at least from the reporting, that the police didn't just bust in, that they got permission from the young man's mother to even enter the premises. So that's important detail. And it's, I've said this many times when it comes to quote unquote resisting arrest or not complying with officers, particularly with this message among Black people. It's never a good idea, right, wrong, or indifferent, because what I always say is it leaves police with few options, and it leaves the suspect with few good outcomes. And we see this time and again in situations like that. Again, not saying that the police dog was the proper use. I mean, there were a lot of things that Ken Kober said in there that you can't argue with. In a lot of situations, these Black males wind up dead with guns drawn on them. I mean, if I got to choose between a dog and a gun, I guess a dog is a better alternative. I would rather have neither. And, that starts with, if the police tell you to comply and come out, that's what you need to do. If you have a warrant out on you for a crime you committed, you need to turn yourself in. When you violate the law and you do these sorts of things, I'm not saying the police are right, but this is what you subject yourself to. The question I wondered was, why didn't the police use the mother to get the young man to come out? Apparently the mom was there. She let him in. My initial thought was, why didn't they just use the mother to compel the young man to come out, surrender himself, and go with the police? So that was the main question that I wondered is, you got the mom there, she's already let you in, use her to let her get her son out of there safe and sound. That would have been the best way to go, I think, rather than deploying the dog. But again, you just, these are the bad situations you find yourself in, when you don't comply. And
so just to clarify, what you're saying is that there might be some scenarios in which it's okay for the police to use a dog on a teenager inside the home.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yes.
I'll agree with Kevin on that, especially like with him giving more context to the situation, and with kids nowadays, some of them being unruly and they won't listen to the mom. They're not listening to the police. They're not listening to the mom. If the mom was there, from my perspective, and she allowed the police to come in there, and she was like, he ain't listening to me, do what you have to do. We, as the public court of opinion, mama said let him go. So that, for me, that's enough right there for me. Should police dogs be used inside a home against a teenager? Yes, especially if the mother is in agreement. Because if so we all know these young teenagers that ain't listened to nobody, especially their mothers. I mean, they might listen to their mom, they might got love for their mom, they might even kill for their mother. But when it comes down to them being raised as the man of that house at a certain age, especially 16, 17 years old, and they can start smelling themselves, I know it's hard for me to handle my boys at that age, especially for a mom to handle the boys at that age. And then the last resort for her, and when the police got there, is to let the dogs out on them. I mean, to answer this question as it's presented, yes, especially if the mother is there and the mother is saying, do what you got to do.
I agree. I don't agree with either one. I think Ken Kober was dead wrong. This was excessive and completely unnecessary. Not responding to a command is not a green light to send in the attack dogs. And let's put this all in perspective. This was for a probation violation for a nonviolent offense. He said in his commentary that the police officer's actions was textbook. I don't know what textbook he was reading from, maybe the textbook of bullshit, but this right here was not necessary. His logic for even the reason why they came in like that was that they reviewed or was trolling his social media and saw him with a gun. He did not put a timestamp on that. That was their reasonable conclusion to come in with some sort of force. Like, give me a break. Even the lawyer said that that was never brought into evidence. Secondly, like everyone keeps saying, the mother allowed you to come in. So there was no apprehension on anything else into you come in with 2 or 3 police officers, you couldn't apprehend him that way. Like, what gave you the conclusion that this person was going to come to you with violence? That's when you need to use excessive force. So again, I just see like a whole level of incompetence by law enforcement that's going to cost the taxpayers money, because somebody's going to have to pay for this young man's medical expenses. Somebody's going to have to pay for what it looks like a lawsuit for excessive use of force. Again, we're talking about a nonviolent offense, a probation violation, like something, an ankle bracelet violation. That's not when you call in the attack dogs, macing, guns drawn. That's not necessary for a teenager, especially when you were allowed into the home. I would love to have heard Ken Colbert give the same type of arrogant explanation, like, well, at least he's not dead. He could be dead. I would love for him to have that same kind of conclusion if this was a white family, a white teenager, like he would say that to a family in Hyde Park. Like, I think they would be handled with a little bit more care, a little bit more humanity, but it's just something you could say to our community. Like, we have to be subjected to that type of violence because that should be expected. I'm not going with it.
Great points.
Phil, your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, first of all, the fact that he's a teenager to me is totally irrelevant. I spent a year as a prosecutor in juvenile court, and I can assure you that kids shoot people just like adults do. So that to me doesn't mean anything. If what Ken Colbert said is that if they hadn't seen the picture of this kid with a gun, they probably wouldn't have handled it the way they did. But I mean, if that was made up, fine, we'll get to the bottom of it. But I believe he was telling the truth about that. Hey, the guy had already taken off his ankle bracelet. Okay, now agreed, it was a nonviolent offense he was being arrested for, but he on top of that then took off the ankle bracelet. Okay, and they know that he, based on that picture, that he owns a gun or is likely to own a gun, and so given those circumstances, I think it was perfectly acceptable and reasonable to send that police dog in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's clear to me that I think TNT is right on this one. I mean, there's just so many question marks. And I hate to be like a Monday morning quarterback because I'm not a police officer and I respect the brave men and women that have to go in and serve these warrants. I get it. I'm not saying that, I'm some kind of like, I don't know, superhero type that can just walk in there and then bullets deflect off of me. So I understand the concerns they have. But if the evidence against a teenager isn't strong enough to survive in court, like the very next day they dropped all the charges, how is it strong enough to unleash a dog on them? And then a dog doesn't know the difference between compliance and terror. That's a terror tactic. They say it's a compliance tactic, but the dog doesn't know the difference. The dog is just trained to latch on. That's terrifying. And it's like, as people said, if the mother opened the door, why not use the mother to try to get the young man? It might take some time. It might take 30 minutes. It might take an hour to coax him out. You might have to use your negotiation skills. But just to send the dog in there when the mother's already opened the door, it seemed like it was out of haste more than out of prevention and care about the well-being of this individual. That's what it seems like to me. But again, I get police officers. They're like, listen, I'm not trying to take a bullet. I get it. But
can I raise
how is this justified?
Can I raise an interesting point about this method that's being used? This is something new. Correct me if I'm wrong. But with the Sarah Herringer case and with the guy cutting his police monitor off or his probation monitor off, or ankle monitor, wherever you call it.
Yeah.
There has been legislation that has been proposed to change laws on things and to change laws on how they police. And then this could be a way that police are trying to do a better tactic. You know, instead of no-knock warranting, you know, this could be a test. This could be a test thing. But like TNT said, and I didn't think about it this way, this might cost the taxpayers money because, I mean, who knows? Like, this is, even that we're even talking about this, it shows grounds. Because I agree. I think that this is open and shut case. If the mom let him in and then the mom was like, I can't get him out of bed. And then they were like, well, can we use the dogs on him? And she's like, yeah, go ahead. Use the dogs.
Well, she didn't. We can't. So the facts matter. You know, we can't twist the facts in the situation. And you gotta. And again, I'm going off of the information and the facts that were presented in the story that was presented to us. And again, I want to stick to what Nathan's question was. The question was not, was there a justification in this situation? It was, should a police dog ever be used against a teenager? That's different. So if you're asking me, do I think that it was necessarily appropriate in this situation? I would say probably not. I don't think so. I think there was a better way. But is there ever a reason to do it? Well, yeah, I could say there is, because the circumstances of the situation matters. This was a nonviolent situation. I think going through the mother would have been a better way to do it. But we also have to acknowledge, like, I don't think it was necessary expediency, because if you read what people have said, they spent some time trying to get this young man to come out. He claims he was asleep. Kober says, hey, with all of the commotion and everything that we were doing to try to get you to come out of that room, you could have slept through that. So then you have to ask yourself the question, was the kid really asleep, or was he just trying to avoid having to go with the police? We won't know that conclusively, but one would have to use a little bit of deductive reasoning there.
Does it matter?
If a kid has cut off his ankle bracelet, if he's been dipping out for 13 days with a warrant on him, he's not eager to go to jail. So I'm probably not believing either that he would have slept through the commotion and the commands of the police telling him to come out.
But
Now,
does that really matter, though?
I know that conclusively, no. But come on.
But does that matter? I don't think. Does it matter whether he was?
It does matter, because
why does that matter?
Because the question is how long do you expect the police to wait on a non-compliant individual to come out? You said it was an expediency. So what? Are the police to wait 2, 3, 4 hours to try to coax this young man to come out of the room?
Well, then that begs the question.
Like that? That's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It begs the question. Then you're right. I like that question. You're right. It does. Like, how long? But the real question is how valuable is the life and the well-being of the individual inside? Because if it's not that valuable, you don't wait that long. If it is that valuable, you take as long as it takes. Can I just finish the point real quick? I just want to finish this sentence. If you value the life and the safety and the well-being of that individual, then you take as long as it takes to get him out without harming him.
I disagree with you, Nathan. You're putting the onus on the police. If you value your own life as a young black teen, you have to be living under a rock if you don't know that playing with the police in these situations is playing with your life. If you don't value your own life enough to come out and comply, particularly if you got a case on you that, as you said, you're going to go to court the next day and get the charges dropped, why am I going to risk my life in a situation with the cops and put my life on the line? I think, look, we got to be fair in these situations.
Right, and we have to be fair all the way around.
We're always putting the onus on the police.
No, we're not.
The response
that is not true.
On the individual who broke the law.
The police are the professionals.
They're the ones that have the training. And there's different levels of using force and compliance. You know, I don't have the whole chart, but I'm just going vaguely off of memory. But there are different levels of, like, a person not complying with orders before you use force. Sometimes there could be a hearing impairment. Sometimes, you know, a person could be having a medical issue. You know, there was a guy that was like a diabetic.
Yeah, but remember, he was hiding in a basement from them a week before when they were looking for him. So he's already demonstrated that he's going to try to avoid being arrested because they
Well,
No,
they
what he
found him in his
demonstrated,
bed.
that he was
what he
hiding. They caught
demonstrated,
him
They didn't
hiding
find
in
him
the
in the
basement.
closet. They didn't find him under the bed hiding. They didn't find him about to jump out the window. They found him in his bed. So
should have.
even if he said he did not hear them, that's possible. I have two young teenagers that I swear the alarm could go off for a freaking hour. It's in their room and they still won't get up. So, if you don't see a visible resistance, if they didn't open the door and just see for themselves like what was going on and evaluate the situation before they made their decision, that's on them. The onus is on them. They're the professionals. They have the training tactics and de-escalation and everything else, what they're supposed to use. They was already allowed to come in. There was no resistance. They chose to use this particular force because someone didn't move quick enough to their liking. But that doesn't mean that they had the right to use that level of force. And if the boy said, 1 minute I'm in my bed and then there's a dog on my arm, I'm laying in my bed and I was woken up by, then yeah, that was probably the case. If this boy was really trying to avoid being arrested, I would think he'd be trying to get out his window, hiding in the closet under a pile of clothes. They didn't find him like that. I'm just saying.
and once again, the proof is in the pudding. So what I don't understand is it seems like we're very selective in terms of what we want to use against people. So a week before that, they found this young man hiding. He didn't get into a shootout with police. They found him hiding and they apprehended him. The night before, they're on social media and they claim, although the boy's lawyer claims there's no evidence substantiated, they haven't seen it, but the police are alleging that they saw a photograph of him with a weapon. But then they apprehended him peacefully again. So it's like, quit trying to use the worst extremes against people when you've got other examples of their behavior. A week before that, they found him hiding and they apprehended him. So why couldn't they do the same thing again without using a dog?
Yeah, y'all are hilarious.
I know. Where's
This is-
accountability?
this
What's
is-
hilarious
y'all
about-
are- y'all are
what's
hilarious.
hilarious?
Because Nathan,
What's
here
hilarious
you just
about caring about
you just
people?
presented facts that said this is a kid who has a history of evading the police. You said they
But
caught
he doesn't
him
have a
hiding.
history of shooting
you
at
said
police.
They caught him. They apprehended him hiding.
Hiding.
He cut off his ankle monitor.
Yes, he cut off his ankle monitor.
This kid has a track record.
Yes, he's got a track record,
trying
and
to evade the police.
he has a track record of being peacefully arrested.
That I was asleep and I didn't hear the commands thing.
Yeah, he posted pictures of himself
that
with a
has
gun.
credibility.
That
That
tell you
has
something?
credibility with you.
You have
given
not
the
seen
track
any
record.
picture of
posted a
that young
picture
man
of
with a
yourself.
gun, Phil.
Anybody
You haven't seen any
Come
picture
on,
of it.
man.
post
Y'all
a
are
picture of
ridiculous.
himself with a gun on social media.
He allegedly
Their
Can't
lawyer
posted a
complain
said
picture.
about
that that was
taking
not brought into
precautions.
evidence. So that's all hearsay. That was not
He,
even brought into evidence.
He allegedly
no.
posted a
That's fact,
picture.
they
What do
never
you mean
brought it into
evidence?
evidence.
What
They
evidence
never
you
brought
talking
that
about in
into
the
evidence.
case?
That's social media. So
That's
just all
irrelevant.
hearsay by your boy Ken
That is
Copeland.
not evidence.
Provide
That's
that
not,
evidence. Evidence. Provide that evidence. And then even and let's
So now
just say
evidence doesn't matter, Phil?
what's the timestamp? Are you talking about from something 2-3 years ago or yesterday?
Hey,
Not only that is relevant,
he's the guy who
but
posted
they
it.
didn't even,
How are they
they
supposed
didn't
to
even
know?
provide that
He's
in
the guy
evidence.
who allegedly posted it. Let's speak with the facts. Come on, counselor. Let's talk about what we know. You have not seen any photograph. You are taking the word from the police, and they have yet to show any evidence to the public.
Well, okay, here's what I explain about evidence, okay? Evidence, if you're referring to evidence, for example, in those underlying cases, the fact that he posted a picture of him
Allegedly.
excuse me, assuming he posted a picture of himself with a gun, that has nothing to do with the cases, and that is not a crime, okay?
But it's not.
But excuse me. So you keep saying evidence. No, it has nothing to do with the cases. But if you're a police officer and you're going to arrest somebody who's, as Kevin says, he's already evaded them before, and then when they get him, they catch him, he cuts his ankle bracelet off, and then they know, and it's not their job to figure out when he posted that with the gun. They know he had or has a gun. I think that's enough to warrant some caution on their part rather than them going in and getting him. I don't think it was unreasonable.
I'll give you that.
to use
It
a
does
dog.
warrant caution, but it doesn't mean that it warrants using a police dog in this situation.
Yeah. And they said that their reasonable probable cause was based on this alleged picture with a gun. That
No,
was
probable.
the
What are you talking about? Probable
that was
cause.
their reasonable
It's nothing to do with
conclusion of why
probable
they
cause.
came in with an attack dog, because they saw this so-called picture on social media that they conveniently didn't bring it to evidence. Yeah.
Whoa. What do you
What?
mean bring it to evidence? That was
When you go to
irrelevant to
court
his
after the
case.
boy was apprehended and you and police
That
explained
was
it,
irrelevant to his
why
case.
they're
The
using
picture of him
excessive
and the
force.
gun is
irrelevant.
irrelevant. Has
well,
nothing to do with
it's
the
going to be
cases.
relevant in a civil case.
It is relevant.
It's very relevant.
It's relevant because it's relevant to the reason
Oh
why.
no,
he's the
that
dog.
I agree. I agree.
That's what we're
It is
talking about,
relevant
Phil.
to whether they were right in sending the dog in. Now, if we're arguing about is did Ken Cobra lie, or was there really a picture? I think that's very easy to find out. But it's not, just to be clear, it has nothing to do with probable cause or his cases. The issue of him with the gun is simply a reason that gives police a reason to send in the dog rather than assume he's nonviolent.
No.
All evidence points to the fact that this young man is nonviolent. He's been apprehended by police twice now. And in any of those cases, none of those cases has he ever used a weapon against anybody.
Oh, he just has a weapon. He doesn't use it, so he's nonviolent.
I'm speaking facts here, not my opinion. These are the facts. He has been apprehended twice by police. And in none of those scenarios has he ever brandished or pointed or used a weapon. Hold on, let me finish. In none of those cases, Phil, let me finish, Phil.
You saw the picture of him.
I just want to finish this point. I'll give it straight to you. In neither of those cases, so let's just talk about what we know. This young man has been arrested twice. These are facts. In neither of these scenarios has he ever brandished, pointed a weapon, or tried to get a weapon to use it to escape the police. That's what we know. He is a non-violent offender, and the charges were dropped the very next day. He is not some arch criminal.
First of all, the cops who are executing a warrant to arrest have no idea what's going to happen to the case. Okay, they have no idea. All right, so that's irrelevant. That is
very relevant.
It's very relevant. It's
irrelevant because the police, all they know is they're arresting a guy with felony charges. They don't know that the next day or the day after he's going to win the case. It's going to be dismissed. So that is irrelevant. However, let me pose this question: if Ken Kober, which I very much doubt he made that up, but if he produces for you a social media post where you see the kid holding a gun, in that case, would you still say they were wrong for sending the dog in?
I would still say they're wrong for sending the dog in. Yes, I would still say that.
All right, well, we disagree.
It may strengthen their case, but in my opinion, in this scenario, the mom had opened the door. To Kevin's point, use mom. Send mom in there. Let mom, if it takes 4 or 5 or 6 hours, do it that way. You know, his life and his well-being and his arm and his blood, that matters too.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. I'd love to hear from the mom on this.
Yeah, me too. I want to hear from the mom.
Because I think for the mom to let the police in, I'm not a parent. So you guys who are parents, walk me through this, that if this was your child.
Let me walk you through it if it was my child. Let me walk you through it if it was my child.
Let me get it out, Terrace, and then you parents can have at it. But in my mind, if it's my kid and the police come and they say, hey, we got a warrant for your son, you need to come out. Now, being a black parent, knowing what that situation is, I am going to personally make sure that I get my kid out safely and handle the situation there. To TNT's point, if my kid has any kind of hearing impairment or any other issues that could be misconstrued, as a parent, I'm letting the police know that, hey, look, my son has this, that, and the other. Y'all need to be aware of this child. Let me handle it. Let me get him. I'm going to try to do that. They're going to have to tell me to get out of the way before I do that, and even that. Now, the fact that the mom kind of didn't do that, and most mothers that I know, I don't want to jump to any kind of conclusions, but that might tell me that there's an issue there with her ability to even handle her son and maybe even her belief to get him out of there. I don't know. I'm making a leap. But I'm just saying there's some things that, to me, as a parent who's looking out for their child, if you're going to allow the police to try to come in and apprehend them, there would be some things that you would do to try to mitigate that. That doesn't seem to have been the case. The police didn't use her. true. I think that's a problem, but I also think it's a problem that it didn't seem like the mom was more proactive in getting her son out of that situation more safely.
As a parent, he asked for a situation. If it was my son at a teenager or now, and the police came to our home and said they had a warrant for my child, and I knew he was on butt, and I knew it, and you know it, and I'm because you talk about a parent who's not my baby type of parent, someone who holds their child to accountability. That's when I'm hearing a lot of lack of accountability as a community right now, when we're even making excuses for this young man. But you're asking as a parent, how would that situation go? If I knew, because every teenager from age 16 to 22, we lose our minds. We do. We don't listen to our parents. We don't listen to our friends. We don't listen to nobody. We lose our minds. Hopefully, some of us come back around. Some of us don't. And I've dealt with 5 sons who have all, myself, my brother, my father told me stories. All of us have lost our minds. So if this man, and I want to know another thing, where's the father at in this situation? If the mother cannot control this kid, you never know what she's got going on. That's why I want to hear from the mother in this situation. If she's got maybe some other kids that she's got to deal with, and this kid is in here wreaking havoc within her home, and she's got a police officer that he's not listening to her either, and then she's like, okay, do what you got to do. That's realistic. All this, we got to talk to this boy. We got to talk to him for 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, that's good police work. And if you want to deal with mental health stuff like that, but there's some parents out there that are not going to deal with it. They're going to be like, my child is on butt. Do what you got to do to him. And that's exactly how I would handle it if it was my son and they were not acting the way they weren't to, and I couldn't reach them, and the police came to my door with a warrant for them, and they weren't coming out the room when I knew they were on butt. Go get them.
I think we're making a lot of assumptions, and being someone that has dealt with the community for over a decade, being a criminal justice chair for the Cincinnati NAACP, I've dealt with a lot of families that faced injustice that, don't know how to advocate for themselves, don't know their rights. And if you don't know your rights, it's like not having them. And so even in her effort to allow the police officer coming in, if she was trying to cuddle her baby or prevent anything from happening to her baby, which she knew probably had a warrant for their arrest or whatever the situation, because I'm pretty sure the probation or the ankle bracelet was to her home. He could not escape. She probably just assumed when they came in that they would be able to handle the situation, that her assistance wasn't needed at that point, especially if they didn't ask for it. A lot of times you could try to intervene and they'll be like, ma'am, please get out the way. You don't know how they came in there and forcefully. And so it's just like in that moment, it's very easy for people to say, well, she should have did this and she should have said that. And why didn't this happen? And even when someone coming in with the dog, like, are they going to search my house? Like, people don't engage with police officers every day. You know what I'm saying? You probably thought the dog was coming to sniff for drugs or whatever else. You didn't think the dog was going to come in to like bite your child or whatever. So it's just a whole lot of different scenarios that was probably running through her head. She's trying to do the right thing. Like, he's right in here, do what you have to do. And everything just went straight to hell in less than a minute. So I think it's easier said than done, but just to make all these different assumptions, like she's trying to not be accountable or be held accountable or not hold her son accountable for whatever he did. I don't think that's the case. So she would not have even opened the door.
Brian Taylor has a question for Phil. He writes, so wait a minute, Phil. Having a firearm means one is violent? ? Police approach white people in rural areas with firearms all the time. Stop, bro.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. The issue is not, the issue is whether they should have sent the police dog in. That's the issue. Okay. And first of all, I didn't even know what race this kid was until you guys mentioned it, for whatever that's worth. But I don't care if it's a black kid or a white kid. Those circumstances were the same. And again, if they saw a picture of that kid, white or black, with a gun, okay, and the fact that he had not complied on several occasions to the point of cutting off his ankle bracelet, which is pretty much a way of saying you're not going to get me. Yeah, I don't care what race the kid is or whether it's rural or city. Those circumstances to me justify using the dog.
So I think to answer Brian's question too, there's another, again, These are the facts that were reported, so I'm only going off of that, but they're important. What Kober said was it wasn't just that he was pictured with a gun. He was pictured with a gun in a stolen car. So that implies a criminal, a violent criminal element or potentially violent criminal element in that you have a gun in the commission of another crime. So it wasn't simply like the young man had a gun on social media and he was posed with it. According to Kober, and again, this all matters as to whether what he's saying is true or not. Allegedly. He's saying that the police saw him with a gun in a stolen vehicle, which adds on to this their argument that they didn't know what type of potentially violent situation they were walking into. So the details or the facts matter because it matters in terms of what the mentality of the police were as they were going in to solve this warrant. Now, whether that's true or not, I'm not saying that what he's saying is true. I'm saying, but if it is true, and that is the justification that the police are using for why they use the dog, those facts do matter and they are relevant to the conversation.
They don't matter unless he was convicted of it. So even to say gun and a picture in a stolen car, what case proves that was a conviction and that's something?
But you got to understand,
if it is a past,
police are walking into situations all the time that they don't know 100% what it is, potentially dangerous scenarios. So they have to go off of the information that they have at hand. This isn't about whether the case was adjudicated in a court of law after the fact or whatever. It's like when you are a police officer and you're going into a situation, you are going in on the best information that's being provided to you by the people who are sending you into that situation. And so if they're getting bad information, if somebody's giving me bad information and I go into a situation with that information, am I at fault with acting on the best information that I have, or is the person who provided me the bad information more at fault?
It depends. It depends, though.
I think there's a progression. I think there's a progression of responsibility that we have to look at to say, hey, they're responding to a situation and the information that they have when they walk into
it. Could be both, though.
Huh?
I mean, if we're going to be fair about it, it could be both. So I hear what you're saying, and you're right in terms of the hierarchy of responsibility. But it could be that all involved are responsible. It could be that that whoever decided that this warrant was serious enough for them to go in needs to be second checked. And it could be that once they got that information, the way that the officers actually conducted the situation needs to be under some review as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Look, I am in agreement with you and T. Nicole. I don't think that the dog being deployed in this particular situation was the best way to handle that particular situation. I'm in agreement with you on that. But what I'm also trying to say is in somewhat trying to be fair and looking at the facts and the information that were presented. I think just like TNT said, here we're making all of these assumptions and we're doing these second guesses on the family, but we're doing the exact same thing with the officers in this situation. And so if we're saying that we need to give the family and the parent and the kid the benefit of the doubt, why do we have such a hard time giving the police the benefit of the doubt?
Well, where are we being unfair to the police in this scenario?
No, I'm not saying, I didn't use the word unfair. I said you're being inconsistent.
How are we being inconsistent?
When you're saying that we're making a lot of leaps and assumptions when it comes to the motives and the actions, why didn't the mother do this? Why didn't the kid do that? Why do we not extend that same grace or latitude to the officers in this situation? That's the only thing.
But where are they? But where are they not granted that? Like in this conversation, how are we not granting that to the officers? What we're talking about is their actions.
Well, your assertion that they sent the dog in as a matter of NC.
Well, I asked as a question. It was open-ended. Like, so why not?
No, that was my statement you made. You said you think they sent the dog in as a matter of expediency. That was
but I posed it as a question. My question was, why not just wait it out? If it takes 2, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12
Nobody's
hours,
got time for that,
like,
Nathan. But what she got? Maybe she has other children.
so
She's got to pick up
his
from
life
daycare.
and
Maybe she's got some other stuff that she's got to take care of. That's going to inconvenience, just throw off a whole lot of other things that she's. I mean, that's my thing.
so now you're making assumptions. I don't know that. I was asking a question.
You asked an open-ended question, and I'm giving you a different scenario. A realistic situation to where a mother has an unruly child in there. She might have other children. It's an open-ended that she has to deal with. And she's got police officers with a warrant, and this dude ain't coming out complying. So what's supposed to, okay, I'm going to go take care of my family. I'm going to go pick up my other kids from daycare where I got you. Y'all handle this. That's what she's supposed to do?
No, that's not even what's on the conversation table right now. What I'm saying is, if the mother had already opened the door, you got a history of dealing with somebody that once you apprehend them, they go along with you peacefully. What was the haste to rush the dogs in there? Why couldn't you talk this situation out? If it took 6 hours, if it took 10 hours, to me, it comes down to time versus the value of this young person's well-being in his life. That's what it looks like to me. It's like, you know what? We're tired of playing with you. We're going to send the dogs in there. That's what it sounds like to me.
I agree with you. I agree. And I agree exactly 100% what you said. And the mother complied too. The mom said, hey, my son is back there. He's not getting up. We're making commotion. And they're like, oh, can we put the dogs on him? And she's like, do what you got to do. And then boom. I think that's where, and that's cut and dry.
Don't the police have negotiators for this kind of stuff? I mean, what's the use of having people that negotiate and try to talk you off the ledge and talk you down?
Man, this ain't no hostage situation. Come on, man.
But it is a hostage situation. But it is a hostage situation. No, you're wrong about that. You're absolutely wrong about that, Kevin. This 100% is a hostage situation in the sense that the mother's home and the police's time, those officers' time, was being held hostage because the kid wouldn't come out. So it is a hostage situation. So what I'm saying is, why do we choose to negotiate and take the time in some cases, but not all cases? Can't hear you, TNT. Still can't hear you.
Yeah.
There you go. Hear you now.
I want to hear the smoke.
I want to hear the smoke too. I can hear.
I'm going to show you an example of my baby face son that's around that age. And why would you want to sick dogs? But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. But how long did it take for them before they sick the dogs? Are we talking about 2-3 minutes? And they're like, let's sick the dogs. Like, I mean, we are making all these assumptions just because he didn't come out as quick as what? You know, so we're talking about 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes. Like we don't have any idea. And no matter how long it take, you already had the easiest access by being let inside the home. You weren't operating outside the perimeter. You were literally inside the home, a door away. You know, so you just opened the door. The boy was laying on the bed, but they decided, and they came in with all the force, you know, that they needed. Was probably 2 or 3. I mean, I'm assuming that, but I know it wasn't just one, and sure certainly wasn't just one with a dog. You know what I mean? But that's the way they chose to come in. They didn't offer enough time to like assess the situation. Like, okay, well, we're coming in, and just to see and assess the situation. Like, oh, he's laying there on the bed, or no one in here. Let's check the closet. Let's check under the bed. Let's check if he jumped out the window. You just sick the dogs in because you're just thinking like. They're assuming, and they're not supposed to assume nothing. They're supposed to assess the situation, you know, like literally. And if they felt so afraid to open that door and see what was on the other side, like Kevin said, send the mom in, like, can you tell your son to come in? I mean, logical thinking, but they wanted to do it a more aggressive, excessive way. And it's going to be money to pay out for that. Like I said, this child's medical expenses, you know, and apparently the whole case was dropped the next day. We're talking about, again, putting everything in perspective. This is a probation violation for a non-violent offense. You're not even talking all this about a social media and this allegation of, oh, he was waving a gun in a stolen car. He wasn't even indicted for that or convicted for that. What are we talking about? Let's deal with the situation at hand. What happened that day with the facts that we know that was provided.
I Brian writes, if they fired a weapon into his door, we would still be defending this? Question mark. Because dogs can kill people like bullets can. Yeah, it's just something about it. It's dogs and bullets. It's like, do we have a third or fourth option? Does it always have to be bullets and dogs?
Taser.
I mean, we have no better. We can't come up with any other better options with all the technology out here and AI, and we can't come up with any other way to subdue people without causing great bodily harm other than dogs and bullets. I just refuse to believe that. We got too many smart people in this country, in this city. You tell me nobody can come up with a better way?
Nathan, listen, let me tell you something.
Put a color purple grip on it.
Hold on, Terrence. Let me respond to what Nathan said. Nathan, here's what you have to understand about the police and law enforcement, and this is my point. The police do not come with tactics that don't involve weaponry. And no. When you have an interaction with police, they give you verbal commands. That is your opportunity. That is your opportunity to go along peacefully. When you don't do that, the scales escalate. The words are the best opportunity that you are going to have.
No.
Any person. I'm just you cannot like it, Nathan, but damn it, that's the truth.
No, it's not the truth.
Options get worse for you afterwards in interactions with the police. That's
where police policy comes in, right? Because that sounds like some old taking us way back to the plantation era.
That ain't plantation.
I said do it right now.
And that's the way it's always been.
If you don't do it right now, then whatever I do to you is justified. I reject that. That's where you have policy, collaborative.
I'm not saying it's justified, but I'm saying smart people recognize that the escalation goes up. It goes up. This is why
that's not smart people.
This is why I just don't
smart people. Smart people appeal and recognize that there is a better way sometimes. Smart people realize that the way that we do things may not be the best way we continue to do things.
Kevin,
you got to be the smart.
So do you think that they opened the door? They saw that boy laying there. They said, get up or whatever they were saying in that video. You know what I'm saying? Or did they just didn't even open the door? Because if they saw them laying there, do you think even in that aspect that it was legit to sick the dog on them? If they seen with their own eyes that he was laying on the bed, you know what I'm saying? Because I just don't understand. We're talking in the perspective as if you have someone in an open area where the police visibly see the assailant, and either they're running away or they're resisting in some sort of way, and then you can elevate your force. Like, okay, we're going to use the taser. Okay, we're going to stick the dog on them or whatever. But they didn't even open the door. Like, if they would have saw him laying there, I don't think unless you just evil and inhumane, like, oh, he laying there. Go ahead, go get him. Because he was laying in the bed. Like, make it make sense logically.
Here's my point. And Brian asked,
allegedly he was laying in the bed.
Up there. Can you put Brian's comment back up there, Nathan? What he just said.
Oh yeah, I'll find it.
Put Brian's comment because I want to address that. He says, Kevin, I know you're against police brutality, but I don't understand how you really caping for them in a roundabout way. It's like you give them all the power and have no belief that they can be forced to do otherwise. Not smart people deserve to live. I'm not saying that people who are not smart don't deserve to live. But here's what I mean by this. And I certainly agree that there have been situations, and we've seen situations where people have certainly tried to comply with the police and have still wound up in bad situations where they've tried to do the right things. But here's the challenge that I have. We are reacting to this situation of a young man having a dog sicked on him. And I've said repeatedly in this thing that I don't agree that was the right way to do. But here's what you got to accept is that along the way, this young man has several points to where he could have headed off this interaction completely. And my point is when you make bad decisions, you increase the likelihood of winding up in a situation like this where you wind up being brutalized unnecessarily. This kid cut off his ankle monitor. He could have turned himself in. These are all of the things that I say that lead up to a point when we talk about compliance. This is a series of bad decisions that wind up having your arm get chewed off by a dog. I'm not insensitive to the young man, but I'm also saying at a certain point, you got to acknowledge that making dumb decisions winds up with you being in state.
We all acknowledge that. Absolutely.
I'm not saying that
For
that's
sure.
justification. I'm not saying that's justification.
Humans make
But at
mistakes.
some point,
Definitely teenagers.
you got to say, I got to make decisions that don't have the dog sicked on me, that don't get me tasered, that don't get me shot.
It depends.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you 1,000%, but I think it's two separate arguments. So I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying logically. I think we all agree with that. Everybody in the chat, I think, agrees with that. Like, your decisions could lead you through a series of events that end you in a bad situation. But this is an issue of policy. Like, just because you break the law, just because you don't comply, it doesn't mean that law enforcement can do whatever they want to do to you.
They don't. You're right. It doesn't. It doesn't mean
Especially if the professionals are acting.
But they will do. But here's the reality. They will do whatever they feel like they can do with what they feel is within policy and what is legal. And so you're right. This is probably something that's going to have to be adjudicated in the court. But what everybody has to recognize is that the police's job, they're not coming in like, oh, let's counsel, let's talk. They're coming in like, hey, turn yourself in.
Right.
They're not trying to social work and psychoanalyze you out.
True.
That's not what they're trying to do.
De-escalation training. They're supposed to do that too. Yeah, they can, and they could definitely do it in a situation that is for a nonviolent offense, probation violation. They could definitely do that in that aspect. But even if for whatever inkling they felt like they were in a violent situation, they were already, inside the home, as close as you can possibly get to apprehending the assailant and doing it without any altercation. But they chose to, be excessive. And so it's going to be, what they're going to learn is that this person's middle name is Sue. And so, I mean, if you want to be, if you want to be a burden to the taxpayers, you know what I'm saying, by making incompetent decisions as a professional and not go and rely on your training and rely on common sense tactics and assess the situation properly, then these things happen. And so we could put all the onus on the stupidity of a teenager. Yeah, he did some dumb things. He won't be the last one. And I'm sure, there's plenty more behind him that'll be doing the same thing. But that doesn't mean every situation has to be done improperly by professionals. We expect a little bit more for them. The standard should be higher for them, not citizens.
When I was a kid, great conversation. I'm going to switch gears here to the next thing, keeping it local. When I was a kid, I, like a lot of kids, man, I want to be a police officer. I want to go save people and be a hero and fight the bad guys and solve crimes. And then I got a little older and decided to move into some other things. But after reading the Cincinnati Inquirer article about the drone pilot program, I want to be a police officer again, man. I mean, this seems like a great job. It's like a video game. I seen one of the officers in this. He was like, look at this, right? He's got an Xbox controller in his hand. I'm like, Xbox? You speaking my language. I love it. Look at that. It's just like a computer game with real life stakes. But this is a fascinating article. 4.8 million taxpayer dollars for the drone program. They're asking, how does this program work? The eye in the sky. After the brawl and everything that's happened leading up to the election, there's been so much attention to crime in Cincinnati, and the mayor and city council have responded with dollars. And so we're seeing an increase in terms of the budget for the drone squad. So cool. And they're taking more and more flights over Cincinnati skies. You may or may not have seen them. But my question is, just to kick things off, are drones really first responders or just first watchers? Is this the beginning of the surveillance society, or this is something that's a necessarily tool to keep us all safe? What do you think?
I wouldn't say it's a necessary tool. I mean, it's a convenient tool. It's one of the tools that technology is allowing us to do. And I think that's a great question. I mean, I think it depends on what you mean by response. Drones may be the first to arrive at the scene, right? So if that's what you mean by first responders, then yes, they're using that technology to get the situations first, assess the lay of the land, all of that, which I think if they're used in that capacity is a very good and safe use for law enforcement, because and this isn't anything new. I mean, I think we've talked about this before. I think there was a situation several years ago in Dallas, Texas, where you had a guy who was holed up with a bunch of weapons inside a building. I think he had shot at some police officers or something, and they had sent in like a robotic drone or something like that to surveil the situation. I mean, you've used drones in bomb situations before where they've sent in robots. So this isn't exactly new, but I think it's becoming more pervasive. Where I worry about it is to the second part of your question, is whether they're becoming first watchers. And I think how law enforcement is deploying these, because I've heard that that they've got them in the sky just over neighborhoods and stuff, just kind of watching. And they're saying the police are like, yeah, we want to use them as a deterrent, kind of like a police car on the highway, because if you ever peep that, like sometimes there don't even be cops in those cars. Sometimes they just park them there, just to get people they know if they see that car, they're going to slow down on the highway. And they look at it as a deterrent. But the thing that I worry about that is, and several people said it in the argument, is the privacy concerns. How far does it go? You don't want this to become Big Brother, where you're using these drones to take the place of actual human beings observing crimes and catching people in the act of doing things. It's going to become an even trickier legal question as we move on, because I think as more you get these drones, robots come into situations, one of the big arguments against, if you remember, the speed cameras and the red light cameras were where you were using this technology to catch people and give them tickets. And I think, Phil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the courts ruled that you can't use that technology without a human being present, right? Like you can have the cameras, but you got to have a human being somewhere in proximity. You just can't use technology to catch people. And I think that's going to be the question, not only with drones, but with other, robotic and electronic technology, is when is society going to become okay with technology replacing humans in the apprehension of suspects in crimes? And that's going to be
coming.
A legal question.
But by the way, just bringing that up, I'll ask him if you guys are interested. I think a great person to be on the crew, at least one time, if not more, is Chris Finney, who we've talked about before, has been probably one of the leading anti-tax advocates, but he's the one who went to court and got those decisions opposing the red light cameras. So I think he'd be a very interesting person to have on to talk about this whole issue.
He would be, and I'd like to hear his thought. If he opposed red light cameras, I wonder what he thinks about this.
Well, I do too. I think it'd be very interesting. I'll just say, I mean, that's a great question. But as I said, I think he'd be a great person to have on for a host of reasons, but especially because that's a great question. I think, following up on what Kevin said, what I really liked about reading about this was that it appears to be something that can save massive hours of police time, because there are so many calls to the cops that amount to nothing. But if you have to send a cruiser out which you really do, half the time there's nothing going on. I think the use of those drones to, when they, if you will, first responder, to go in and see, hey, turns out it was nothing. that saves an amazing amount of police time. Now, I am a strong privacy advocate, and I think to get to the point Kevin raised about that, I think there has to be very, very strict punishment and enforcement of any voyeurism or violation using these, to watch somebody change clothes or whatever, or for their amusement. Anybody who does that, the hammer needs to really, really come down. But aside from that, it seems to me a very, very useful tool.
I'm with you on that. I mean, for me, I think the word that you didn't want to use is regulate. It needs to be heavily regulated with a lot of.
I agree with that term. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Heavily regulated with a lot of very local community buy-in. Like, one question I have is, if the police are already struggling with community trust, why add something that looks like mass surveillance? I mean, isn't this going to make people even more untrustworthy of police and law enforcement? That they have this tool, this omnipresent eye in the sky? I wonder about that. But I also wonder, like, how's the footage going to be stored? Who has access to it? Will it ever be monetized? Like, what do they do with the footage? And then, should individual neighborhoods, let's say, if the neighborhood council in Price Hill says, listen, we're cool with drones, but we don't want a lot of drones. Should they have any impact or input in the overall usage of the drones in their neighborhoods? I would say yes. But what do you guys think?
Well, let me finish your first question about is it like part of responders or watchers? I think it's first responders. I actually think it's a great investment. If we're talking about investing in police, this is the type of things that are technology that we need to help improve public safety, and improving and solving crimes, because the main goals of police is to bring people to justice, but it's also to solve crimes and to bring forth evidence. And so even in cases where it could be a high-speed chase, that can be eliminated. We wouldn't really need that, because you'll have a drone that can follow the assailants to wherever they go and get to the parties wherever they land, and then and just have somebody waiting there or circle them wherever they end up going. Also, if a person is trying to flee by foot, like Phil was saying, like, just the extra effort that police have to do physically, they can hone in on whoever. If they go into a building or if they're in the woods, the drones can follow all of that. So I think it's very smart technology, and I'm not too worried about the privacy aspect of it. They basically said in the article that this is only deployed when there's like a 911 emergency. Like, they're not just circling around the neighborhoods, because, for one, that would take up too much battery life or whatever, just to be surveilling around and just taking video shots. Plus, like you were saying earlier, like the for them to retain all that video footage, they just don't have, I'm sure they just don't have that sparingly to just watch the city. They really have to use it for real cases of emergencies, and not every case for emergency. I don't think they'll have enough drones for every emergency. Like, they probably really have to tailor it for, the ones that really requires this type of assistance. And so they have to evaluate that. I only think they have so many that they can deploy, but even at that, that's like, it's also an extra form of video technology. So not only do you have the body cams that can be distorted sometimes, or somebody can stop or whatever, but the eye in the sky can show a bird's eye view of everything going. So even if a police officer try to lie or misconceive a situation, or even if a person that is the assailant try to lie and say that a certain situation happened, you have another bird's eye view of an account to bring into evidence. And there was one other point I wanted to make, but I can't think of it right now. But main thing I think is a good idea. Oh yeah, the privacy aspect. I mean, we willfully give up our information on social media. I mean, you just like we were saying in the last segment about police officers using social media to invade your privacy, and you do that for free. So I don't know how much a drone can take from you and the privacy aspects, but that's if they were even using it in that capacity, which really wouldn't make sense, because that would take a lot of battery life and a lot of video storage to operate it that way. But I think it's good technology to solve crimes.
What do you think, Terrence? Yeah, let Terrace get in. What do you think, Terrace?
I'm along the line of thinking about the financial aspect of it, follow the money of it, because like you're saying, who's going to be the official drone footage provider for the city, and will it be acceptable in court? These are things that are going to have to be wrote into legislation, but it's going to happen. So those are the things I'm thinking about. Who's going to be in charge of the money part of it, and who's going to be writing the legislation and lobbying to get Landsman and Moreno to write these certain laws in your guys' area to push this stuff through, to get the official footage to say this is the one, because that's what's going to happen next. Next, they've got to go through the writing of the laws of I believe this is a test pilot program, and then because once they how it's admissible in court will this be if they got this footage, but if they get it backed up by law, by strict law that's written into y'all's legislation, that's whenever things could get really, that's where I'm looking at it. I'm like, because I know it's going to happen, and I'm for it. I'm all for it. I think like in the community that I live in, if we had drone surveillance footage available at 911 calls, I'm thinking personally in a park that we have, instead of the police going there having to do a little fight between teenage kids and having a whole full-blown police force there, we could send the drones there to assess the situation, have a microphone. Y'all disperse. We got all y'all's pictures on here, and we know where y'all, you know what I'm saying? We could other tactics to use. Those things are going to come, and I believe that as we evolve, it's not going to be us that we have to write these laws for. I believe our children are going to be the ones that we need to have sitting in these meetings and having to see where this stuff's going. But for right now, I believe we should focus on. My focus is going to be on who's going to be backing this. Where's the money coming? Is it coming from the blue people? Is it coming from the America for Prosperity
people, brother? It's coming from the green people.
The green people,
money,
right?
The money people. That was a very astute comment there, Terrace. I got to give that to you, because I think you're 100% right. This is going to become a money game, and as we know, when anything becomes a money game, it becomes a political game that then has laws written around it to support the use and the proliferation of it. We see it with ankle monitoring devices. I mean, that is an industry that is exploding, and the people who are developing those, they're pushing for more legislation to get more people put on home monitoring and that sort of thing, so that they can sell more of those devices. I mean, I've seen reports on that and legislation that's written, to that end. And you're absolutely 100% right. You're probably going to see the same thing sort of happen with this drone technology. TNT made some great points as well in terms of high-speed chases, foot pursuits. I mean, if the Cops TV show wasn't already off air, these drones certainly would put them out of business, because the police foot chase should be a thing of the past, with these drones. But I do still worry about the privacy issue, because we know with anything, there's always abuse, right? As Nathan said, unless you have detailed regulations, you can almost bet that there's somebody that, as this becomes a little bit more used, there's going to be somebody in the department that's going to get busted, that we going to wind up writing about it. Somebody who flew the drone to watch some lady, taking their clothes off, or they're trying to get somebody they really want to get, so they use the drone in a not so legal capacity. I mean, we know these things are going to come up, because they always come up, in every situation. And what worries me kind of with the eye in the sky sort of thing is, like, you have the right to privacy even on your own property. Like, the police can't just roll up on your property without just cause or without reason. You can tell them to get off your property and they have to leave or come back with a warrant. I worry about the possibility of these drones being used to circumvent that, and to be able to surveil and look over people's property without their position. And what are you going to tell a drone flying over your house? Hey, man, get on out of here. And you can't dismiss a drone in the same way that you can tell a cop to leave and come back with a warrant. And so I worry about those types of usages.
Yeah, for me, I'm a hard no on all of it. Like, I've been saying this for years. I'll say it again. Why is it we as humans, we do not go the Star Trek way of things. We don't go that way. It's like we take, instead of using technology to liberate, to celebrate, we use it to incarcerate and to infiltrate and to surveil. So I am pro-human, period. I'm pro-human when it comes to jobs. Whether it's legal or not, I feel like that industries should not be allowed to push humans out of certain jobs. I was in the grocery store. They got this automated robot doing a job that a human used to do. I don't like it. We need to heavily regulate this. And I say the same thing about law enforcement. Law enforcement agents will be replaced in the future because of drones and AI and robots. And drones and AI and robots they can't look a man or a woman in the eye. They can't judge character. They don't read body language. They are not humans. I don't care whether it's legal or not, or capable or not, or cost efficient. There are just some things that humans should do. And that includes policing and arresting and surveilling other humans. Now, I like what Tara said. And I think that if we're going to do this, the industry needs to be heavily regulated, and we need to take a minimalist approach, a minimum of drones flying over our cities. I also think that let's take the city of Cincinnati. If we are going to contract with a drone manufacturer, it needs to be a Cincinnati-based drone manufacturer. It needs to be Ohio-based drone manufacturers. That money, that infrastructure needs to come from the same city and the same locale that they're going to be surveilling, in my opinion. It just makes perfect sense. Pour back into and invest back into where you're going to be deploying these devices so that money can circle around, at least on some level. That makes more sense to me, but I just don't like it. I don't like it in any industry. I don't like it in farming. I don't like it anywhere where humans are being replaced by AI and robots. And I think we need to put a stop to it, or we're going to see mass layoffs of human beings. And mark my words, you're going to have people in the streets one day with protest signs saying humans over robots, humans over AI, because industry is going to go where the money is and where it's more cost effective. And everything that's cost effective is not human effective. Humans first in all cases, in my opinion. Humans first. Mom and dad, sisters and brothers, flesh and blood humans should be doing these jobs and not robots.
I do think it's a workforce. I don't know that it will ever completely get away from it, because I think you may have a situation where you have, instead of having two human partners, you may have one human and a robot partner, or
that means the humans
AI
losing their job.
With it. You're always going to need somebody to, well, maybe not always, but you're going to probably have people like our man who was pictured in the video there to fly the drones, unless you're going to have machines flying the machines. Right. So I think there will always be a presence of humans. It's just a matter of how many are there. Because my whole argument with AI and these big corporations is, you got to think about how our society is built on capitalism. And I think there gets to a tipping point of diminishing returns. If you put so many people out of work with robots and drones, and they don't have the money to buy the products, to buy the homes, to prop up the economy, then where are all of these billionaires going to continue to get their money and riches from? Right. So there becomes a tipping point of diminishing returns where the system collapses underneath itself if we're all replaced with robots. I mean, the economy doesn't work that way. So I think that there's always going to be a balance of human beings and robots, but it's just a matter of how many of us are going to be out of work. Not all of us, but there may be, pretty good numbers of us that are.
No human should lose their job to a robot or AI. It should not happen. We should be human first, even at the cost of capital and people making a lot of money, because we are human beings first, especially in law enforcement.
But we do have a responsibility to make life more convenient and error-proof. And so going back to, we've had this argument before about the high-speed chases and the dangers of that. And so using the technology in a smart way, as far as, keeping outside people from being in danger, the police officer from being in danger, and even the assailant that they're going after, all of those components, it reduced the error component, and then it kind of totals, makes it increase the ability to capture the person and find them without, endangering so many people and then possibly losing them in the end. But one of the things it said in the article, it said the functionality when a 911 call is received, drones can be launched within seconds to provide a live feed to the officer. So all of these are like kind of assistant helpmates. And so until we get to the aspect of where we're literally like in RoboCop, where we have like robot police officers, like Kevin said, there's still going to be a human element. Somebody has to actually apprehend and capture the individuals. Somebody is going to actually have to bring these individuals to justice. I know that could be right around the corner, maybe even police cars that are like, driving themselves. It may get to all of that sooner than later, but we're not quite there yet. But this technology that we're talking about today, I think is good. I think it's good for police. I think it's good for the community. I think it increase solving crimes. And that's where, a lot of people, no matter what community you're in, you want to be able to solve some of these crimes that happen in a safe way and bring people to justice.
I was thinking, I got a thought like those drones flying over somebody's on a high-speed chase, and they're like, stop. Instead of like doing tasers, they just do have this net that goes over and just catches them just like in Spider-Man. And then they just tumble all up.
Yeah.
Hey, on the real though, they should have sent the drone in instead of that dog for the 16-year-old young man. If they was concerned about whether or not he was armed or not, send the drone in on that brother instead of sending
they will.
that dog.
Oh, they will be. They will be sending drones in. And again, back to I thought it was a great point that Terrace brought up. The fight. Who gets the money off of it? I'll say it again. There has to be some Cincinnati or Ohio-based drone manufacturers. They should get the contract. I don't want to hear about they were outbidded by somebody else that not from our area. If drones are going to be used over Ohio skies, they should be manufactured on the Ohio streets. Period. Pour back
even if
into
it costs
and
the
invest.
taxpayers a lot, even if it costs the
Even
taxpayers a lot more
if it
money,
costs, but it won't cost more money because if it's manufactured by humans here in Ohio, that money's going to recirculate here in Ohio first.
What? Some guy owns a drone company in Cleveland, and let's say he's making a fortune off it. You're saying if somebody in Texas can give a significantly more competitive bid, you want to ignore that just because the other guy has residency in Ohio?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
As a taxpayer, I want the best deal possible.
That is the best deal possible
in Ohio or not.
I understand, but that is the best deal possible.
Recirculate, Nathan, to say it's gonna recirculate. You can say that about any company. Oh, they made a ton of money, but we overpaid, but no problem because it's gonna recirculate here.
It's gonna recirculate here. You're gonna put moms and dads and sisters to brothers to work here in our state. Yeah, I disagree with you completely. I think it would be more cost effective
let's say it's an Ohio for a taxpayer. Plants in Texas. How about that?
Everything in Ohio. It should be manufactured in Ohio. If you're going to put drones over Ohio skies, it should be manufactured on Ohio streets with Ohio winds. So we get the full benefit around in a very holistic way of all of it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. What's the problem with that, Mr. Republican?
Well, Mr. Republican, thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, there's nothing Republican. I got news for you. Protecting home companies, that's not Republican. Republican is wanting the best possible, having a competitive situation, which is why when I was on city council, I was the leader in putting together and passing what we call managed competition, which even allows private companies to wherever they're from to compete against city agencies where they can offer a better product at a better price.
And that's a big mistake. What
is Republican? Okay, is where you look at for the interest of the taxpayers instead of giving out favors to some local company or something like that. You competitively bid services, whether it's drones or anything else.
What's more competitive than putting Ohio workers to work for Ohio products? What's more competitive than that?
All right, and so you're going to monitor. There's an Ohio company that puts in a bid, and you're saying, oh, we only choose Ohio companies. And now the Cincinnati city of Cincinnati has to investigate. Well, hold it. What if they have some workers in China? Oh, maybe they got 10% in California. You're going to have them do all that? Come on, give me a
Phil,
break.
I think
Not even sure
I think
necessary.
Get
Phil, I
the
think
best
you're.
product.
If
That's
I
what we
can
care.
interject, it, I'm just talking about this specific drone footage stuff, not capitalism in general. They're talking about who is going to.
I'm talking about all of it, but go ahead.
He's
My
talking about
thoughts,
everything.
All of it.
my thoughts are specific to the drone footage because that's going to be valuable stuff. You got this drone footage, you got these people, and you got surveillances. And say they do call 911 and they send the drone up and they're recording all that footage from when the drone goes up to the actual dispute and everything that's recorded from that moment on. That's valuable stuff. People will pay for that for court documents. It could be used for so much different kind of stuff. And that's what I'm thinking. Who's going to get smart and use that kind of content to capitalize on? And that should stay local, I think. That shouldn't be
All of it should
outsourced to
stay
somebody.
local.
I don't think that should be outsourced to somebody from California or someone who, let's say, from the extreme right-wing company who has ability to manipulate footage with AI and all that kind of stuff. I believe that's why it should be localized and really regulated and see who's going to be pushing it in that standpoint.
Phil does not believe in state sovereignty. This is the most Republican idea I've heard in a long time.
State sovereignty. What the heck does that mean?
But let me get back to your point, though. So, for instance, let's say, state sovereignty. I mean,
like
don't
states'
Republicans
rights?
don't Republicans believe in investing in? Don't Republicans believe in investing in the states in which they actually live? So, for instance, to take your example,
No, actually,
in Texas,
they don't.
if they decided that they wanted to expand their drone program, I'd say the same thing about Texas. It needs to be manufactured.
Here's
Okay,
Phil's point. Here's Phil's point. He's been
this, Nathan. Should we say that the only airlines that can fly into Ohio are Ohio Airlines?
We can have that conversation, but right now we're talking about drones. So let's not water it down.
Been pretty consistent on this, Nathan, and I'm not surprised at his position because if there's one thing that Phil believes in, it's the competition and the marketplace.
Yeah, he does.
And I only know this because we get into this every time we talk about school choice and all of that, and colleges and universities.
But
Phil
not
NIL. Phil is a
Kevin,
man who
except for
believes
NIL,
that competition.
That's where I'm a socialist. Let's just
Phil is a man who
NIL,
believes that competition.
College players, I'm a socialist. Other than that, I'm for competition, free market.
Yeah, he believes competition drives down prices, and he's right.
I mean, to a certain degree, product too.
That's not true.
To his point, if every city or if every state, just to use your point, Nathan, if every state or every city was able to build a factory or a plant that they had to buy from and only from them, then that would allow those places to command whatever price they wanted. They would not necessarily
in your logic.
They would not necessarily be compelled to innovate or create.
There's a flaw in your logic.
Anything different. So it could create a situation for almost kind of like monopolistic.
There's an
type
obvious flaw
abuse.
in both of your logic that you're overlooking. And the flaw is that you're assuming that there won't be any competition among Ohio-based drone
so we'll
companies.
have a whole bunch of Ohio drone companies that'll just kind of appear just made like that. Is that what
Don't
you're
we
saying?
already have a whole bunch of Ohio-based companies that have
we could be the
similar
drone
industries?
capital of the country. Think about it. If that happens.
No, it wouldn't happen at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, we already have competition among Ohio-based companies in various industries and various sectors. I don't know why y'all guys is acting like what I'm saying is that there'll just be one. No, there'll be a plethora of drone manufacturers based in Ohio who can all competitively bid for a variety of different drone contracts. You got a lot of different law enforcement agencies.
How about
throughout
the same
state.
thing with grocery stores? Same thing there, Nathan?
We're not talking about grocery stores. Don't try to dilute what I'm saying.
So as the same principle applies.
So as I said, the same thing for Kentucky. If Kentucky decides city by city to expand their drone program, then Kentucky-based drone manufacturers should get that bid, and then
you know what's going to happen, Nathan? You know what's going to happen?
A lot of humans are going to get jobs,
and a lot of humans are going to get laid. A lot of humans are going to get laid off, like we see in the capitalistic industry as it is. Because what's going to happen is one particular factory is going to produce a better, cheaper better, cheaper product, and they're going to pay their people not as much as some of the other factories. And all of the police agencies are going to go buy from them because
how is that any different than what we're dealing with right now, Kevin? The
It's
only
no
difference
different.
now,
It's no
the only
different.
difference now
It's no
is that the
different.
company that gets that program or gets that contract may not be based in the same state as the drones are going to be employed. You just defined capitalism. That's happening already.
Yeah, but
Well, let me ask
I'm
you a
just
question,
saying I don't
Nathan.
think it's going to be the panacea that you think it's going to be.
It
for
will be
jobs.
the panacea
Let me
because
ask you
the
a question.
whole
Let's
point
take it
is
to-
to put
Nathan,
the
let's
money
take it to
back
a lower
into
level.
those states. Hold
Nathan,
on. It's not a
what-
panacea. It's a plan to put those dollars back into those states. And it will do that.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why, Nathan? We're all here pro Cincinnati. Why don't we say that the drone companies have to be in Cincinnati?
I like it even better.
You like
I
that?
like it even better.
Or maybe hold it. Maybe within a few downtown or
Now
or
you're being
in Hyde
ridiculous.
Park. I mean, let's
Now you're
do
being
it
ridiculous.
like you want.
Hey, wait until Blue Ash. Wait
Now
until
you're being-
Blue
now
Ash
you're being
gets a
ridiculous.
plot of
No,
land
Blue
and
Ash
steals
can't.
it
They're
from
outside
Cincinnati.
the city of Cincinnati. They're not.
Now you're being
eligible.
No, that's what I'm
ridiculous.
saying.
Under
Wait
Nathan's
until
plan, they're not eligible.
Wait until Blue Ash gets a plot of land and they want to steal that factory from the city of Cincinnati and they give them some sweet tax abatements to move.
Isn't
You
Blue
think they're
Ash
gonna stay in
considered greater Cincinnati?
No, not greater.
Huh?
I'm saying let's
Is-
go to
isn't
city
Blue Ash
limits.
considered
Let's just
greater
keep it within the
Cincinnati?
City limits, Nathan.
Yeah, but you don't.
So that
all of
doesn't-
these communities. This is the problem you have right now. There's no new growth or new businesses coming because everybody around here is cannibalizing each other. They're stealing each other's businesses. That doesn't do anything to improve jobs or the situation. All it is moving is robbing Peter to pay Paul somewhere else. What we need is new industry, new jobs. You know,
This is a new industry. This is a new industry. We are talking about new jobs. I mean, the drone technology isn't going to stand still, Kevin. It's going to progress. And as this surveillance society explodes, there's going to be a huge demand to manufacture these drones and all the subsequent and relevant technology for the next 20 years. This is new technology. This is a new industry.
Yeah, they're gonna make it overseas like those ankle monitors.
They're going to make it overseas if we allow them to. And that's why I'm saying we shouldn't allow them to. That's what I'm saying. That's we're talking about policy, like long-term strategy.
Man, do you know how corporate America will fight you tooth and nail? They will run somebody worse than Donald Trump.
Of course
to
they
keep
will.
you
So
from
what?
instituting a law to say that they cannot move cheap jobs overseas and build factories in Taiwan or these other places or wherever they're building them. The money
Donald Trump
interest
just made
never allowed you
H-1B.
to make that kind of.
Donald Trump just
declaration.
made H-1B visas $100,000 a pop. So we can move mountains if we decide to. I mean, the political agenda of administrations changes from administration to administration. If he can do that with HB1 visas, then we can do this in Ohio and say, listen, we want to restrict who actually gets the contracts for these drones. I'll stand by it. It should be Cincinnati first, Hamilton County second, Ohio after that, period, point blank.
You know, let me say something.
Bring the money back to the people.
If this podcast has got to the point where we're arguing about how competitive the drone industry should be, I think it's time to move to another subject. Okay, I really do. I think we're kind of out there. Okay,
I'm kind of happy that
people
I'm kind
want.
of happy they're not talking about the orange.
Hey man, people want them drone jobs. I don't disagree with the spirit of what Nathan is saying is trying to create good, high-paying manufacturing jobs. It's absolutely something that's sorely needed, not just in greater Cincinnati, but across the country and in America. I just don't think that, Joe Biden, if you remember, his whole thing was made in America, right? And I think Donald Trump even has beaten that drum. Yet, I mean, Trump came out, hey, I'm bringing all of these American jobs back from overseas. When's the last time you heard him talk about that? When's the last time you heard about some factory that was manufacturing overseas coming back to the United States? It's not going to happen because the big money interests, they don't care about that. They care about their bottom line. If they cared about American jobs, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. What they care about is their bottom line. What they care about is their stock options. They don't care about they don't even care about whether you make a minimum wage or not. So
but the
to
people care
expect
about
that they would go along quietly with an edict that says you got to build in greater Cincinnati, where it's probably 10 times more expensive than going over to, the Philippines. Come on, man. They ain't going to stand for that.
Who cares what they stand for?
And
It's not. See, that's what you understand. I'm not concerned about what they would stand for. That's irrelevant. I'm concerned about what I think is best for Cincinnati and Ohio.
I
Nathan,
mean, we're not in disagreement with that.
You've
But
always had people that stood against. You've always had people that stood against progress. You've always had people that stood against progress.
That's what Phil's doing.
You've always had people that stood against progress. So what? You still got to move in a certain
Nathan, I want to
direction.
say something. I got to say something. Having listened to you now, I have to say something. The guy who just got elected mayor in New York, what's his name? How do you say it?
Mamdani.
Nathan, you make Mamdani look like a free market capitalist.
I make Mamdani look like a free market capitalist. I'm not even sure what that means.
This stuff's above Phil's head. It's above Phil's head. He's not going to have to deal with it for his lifetime.
I think that makes sense.
He's not worried about it. He's like, I'm not. These are definitely relevant topics that you bring up, and who's going to be in charge of the drones that are going to be policing us. When we're gone, we have to worry about these things, Phil. Just like,
speak for yourself. I mean, you're saying if I'm gone, is that what you're saying? Same thing. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. These are the kind of questions that people will be mulling over for the next 2 to 3 decades, right? No doubt about it. And I am Cincinnati first, Hamilton County first, Ohio first. Period.
Hey, Nathan, here's the problem. The problem with our politics that makes what you're proposing difficult. I'm not going to say impossible.
I don't think it's difficult at all.
But very difficult is we villainize labor in this country. We have the Republicans have successfully villainized labor in this country, and then you've got big money interests like Elon Musk and others who are buying elections. The Zuckerbergs and the Bezos and those individuals, they're not spending millions of dollars in politics just on a lark. They're doing it to protect their interests. And what they are very good at and they're very effective at is they're like a great magician. They get you not to focus on their greed, but they'll get you talking about transgender and DEI and all of these other things to suck people in and not pay attention to where the real villainy is. And that's how they control the politics and buy elections. And that is why, as much as I would love to believe in this utopia that you're proposing, why I say it will never happen, because we fall for the banana and the voting public falls for the banana in the tailpipe too often. And it would take a massive labor poor people's movement.
Can I add on what you're saying?
I don't know. Hold on.
Revolutionary level.
Why are you acting like? Why are you acting like the state of Ohio already doesn't offer tax incentives and other financial incentives for working with people in the state of Ohio? Quit acting like this is some foreign idea that is from Star Trek. This is very practical, and it's been put in place in this state and other states around the country. Please stop it.
But again, my question, Nathan,
to you and your personal life,
Nathan, is how much of that is for new?
Please stop.
Wait, how much of that is for new creation, Nathan, or how much of that is luring somebody from someplace else to come to Ohio? Or this is my argument: is all we're doing is poaching businesses from other states or other places. You're not seeing.
No, that's not what we're doing, sir. That's not what we're doing.
New manufacturing being created. There's already a drone manufacturer. There's already a drone manufacturer out here somewhere, Nathan, who's waiting to cash in on what you're talking about. They are going to do.
And I want that person to be based in Ohio. That's what I'm saying. You're right. You're right. But I want that person to be based in Ohio, because who pays for the drones? Ohio taxpayers. So if Ohio taxpayers are going to pay for the drones, then Ohio wins should make money off of it. Quit acting like y'all don't understand this. So
if a drone company moves from Texas to Cincinnati, right? So now the people, the taxpayers of Texas, are paying for drones that are manufactured in Cincinnati.
What are you even talking about,
You're not
Kevin?
creating anything new.
Can you say what you just said again? Because it doesn't make any sense to me.
It makes absolute sense. So you're saying that the taxpayers of Cincinnati should benefit from drones if they're made in Cincinnati.
Let me break this down for you. Let me break this down for you. Here's what I'm saying.
Here's what I'm saying.
Here's what I'm saying. Who pays for the drones? Who pays for the drones? Who pays for the drone?
That's my argument. Oh, there's going to be who is going to be the official drone person and who's going to be writing the legislation for these drones. Because if not, here's the scenario.
Who pays for the drones?
In this case, it's the city of Cincinnati. It's not.
But it depends. It depends. If you got 3 different drones going up, and you got three different drones going up in 3 different
the city of Cincinnati. Hold on one second, Terrence. I want to make sure I walk through this because y'all ain't gonna. I ain't gonna let you do this. I'm gonna hold this. I'm gonna hold this down. So if the city of Cincinnati pays for it, who funds the city of Cincinnati?
The taxpayers.
Okay, Cincinnatians. So what I'm saying is, if Cincinnatians are going to pay,
first 2 questions right.
Hold on, you did, but you already knew this. But I wanted to say it again so everybody knew we was on the same spot.
Keep going, yeah.
So if taxpayers, Cincinnatians, are already paying for the drones, what's wrong with the idea of Cincinnatians being paid by Cincinnatians to manufacture the drones?
So in other words, the drones don't just have to be in Ohio. The drone companies have to be located in Cincinnati.
You didn't answer my question. That's not my question. What is wrong with Cincinnatians, right? What's wrong with Cincinnatians who are taxpayers, right?
Yeah.
Being paid by Cincinnatians to produce drones that are going to surveil Cincinnati. What's wrong with that?
Answer your question?
After you answer it.
I'll answer your question. All right.
Sure.
I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Okay. What's wrong?
Yeah, because that's my question.
Listen, you call me. I act like a prosecutor. Let me answer.
I love it because Nathan, you are giving him a taste of his own medicine right now. You are hitting him with the Perry Mason right now.
No, I'm just simply. I just want to make sure that we're. It sounds like we're having 3 or 4 different arguments, and y'all acting like you don't know what I'm saying just for the sake of the conversation. So I want to whittle it all down. So let Phil
taking on the barbarian role.
Understand this. Let him explain it.
Like I treat terrorists, and that's inexcusable.
No, I just want to hear your response. Where's the flaw? What's wrong with Cincinnati?
Let me answer.
Go right ahead.
Okay. The flaw is by limiting manufacturers of that or any product to only ones in Cincinnati, we're going to pay 10 times more than if we let the whole country bid.
That's a lie.
The answer.
That is a lie. That is a lie.
Okay.
It's a lie.
I got a question, Nathan. Can I ask you a question?
But I just said it was a lie, and I think it's only fair for me to explain that first.
If you don't mind, who does the grocery shopping in your family? Your wife, who is in the Phil Hymick fan club, or you? Let me ask that question.
It depends. We both grocery shop.
All right, you do.
But back to my point.
Let me ask you this, Nathan. Personally, because one must practice in their own life what they advocate for others. When you go to Kroger, do you only buy sal that was grown in Cincinnati? Or apples that were grown in Cincinnati, or do you get the best price and the best product, regardless of where they came from?
It depends. So back to what I was saying. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it depends. Depends on what I'm looking for. Sometimes I shop at Kroger. Sometimes I shop at other places. When you shop at Kroger, because you brought up Kroger. Since you brought up Kroger, Kroger doesn't tell you exactly whether these are manufactured and farmed in Cincinnati or somewhere else. At least I never see that distinction. If I did see that, there would be times when I would purposely shop with local farmers just to support local farmers if that's what you're trying to get to. But like I said, the logic is super sound, right? Because if you're going to take tax dollars from Cincinnatians, I want a return on my investment, right, from my local government. And part of that, again, it takes thinking outside the box. Part of that is
this is way outside.
Dollars. It's not that far outside, actually. And that's what I'm trying to get to. You're trying to make it seem like it's really out there, but it really isn't.
All right.
If you're going to take tax dollars from me, then I want to see a return on my investment. Part of that return on my investment for my local government is putting people back to work. And this idea puts Ohioans back to work in a way that I don't think people are really thinking about right now. Simple as that.
Here's what I think is true, Nathan. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying that what you're saying doesn't have merit, but I think there's a reality in what Phil talks about, which is just quite simply what the competitive marketplace is. And
Which
what,
is what?
what people have to be willing to accept is to do what you propose is most likely and invariably going to result in Cincinnati taxpayers having to pay more for the product. You say no,
Says
but
who?
I'm telling you that that's probably the case. That
Based
they
upon
are
what?
that there are the lack of competition.
What makes
Lack
you
of
think there's going to be
competition.
a lack of competition?
Wait, I'm sorry.
I said, what makes you think there's a lack of competition when it comes to drone manufacturers?
Well, aren't you saying that Cincinnati should only be able to buy from Cincinnati manufacturers? That manufactures the drones. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm saying
in
that
and of
there's a
itself rules
hierarchy
out
there.
other
Do you know how
competition.
many
You're
drone
saying where I
manufacturers
must
there
buy
are based
from.
in Cincinnati?
You're saying where I must buy from. So if I can only
Do
buy
you
from
know how
Cincinnati
many drone manufacturers there are that are based in Cincinnati or
I
Hamilton
know
County,
zero.
Ohio?
Zero.
what sense would that make, Nathan? They couldn't survive. There wouldn't
I
be
just
enough
simply
demand
asked you a
to have
question.
three.
Do you
That
know?
makes absolutely no sense. There would not
It
be
makes
enough
perfect
demand
sense.
to have
Do
three.
you know?
There would not be enough demand to have three manufacturers in the state of Ohio.
How do you know?
Because I can do math.
Have you done the math? What I'm asking is, you can say that, but as you're saying here definitively, do you know what the local or the state drone manufacturing landscape really is? So you're assuming that there's only one. What I'm saying that is that money goes where money knows that there's going to be money to be made. So if the city or the state or the county said, look, we're going to start a hierarchy where we're going to look at Cincinnati first, Hamilton County, and Ohio, there's money there. So to me, that tells me that capitalism is going to fill that void. See, you and Phil are assuming that there aren't enough competition. All I'm saying is that if I know there's money in Ohio, I might start manufacturing drones because there's money there.
There's $4.8 million that's been allocated. That's what we're talking about. There's 4. That's a lot of money.
In the city,
Nathan
yeah.
just said. And I understand.
8 million over the next 8 years.
Okay, over the next 8. Okay, 4.8 million over the next 8 years. So that means a company could come here.
4.8 million this year. That's 4.8 million through 2033. So that's not 4.8 million a year. So that's not a lot. That's not a lot.
Not a lot now, but we all know it's expanding, Kevin. We all know. What are we even talking about? We already know that this is a booming industry. That 4.8 is going to be 48 in about 10, 20 years. Stop it, please. So this is an expanding industry. It's not contracting, it's expanding, right? And so when you have an expanding industry, capitalists say, oh, there's money there. Let's move to that. All I'm saying is that somebody is going to manufacture these drones for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I believe that it should be done locally. It should start in Cincinnati. If we can't find a Cincinnati manufacturer that would actually do the work at scale or whatever the demand is, then we should look at Hamilton County. If we can't find a Hamilton County manufacturer that can do it at scale, then we need to look at the state of Ohio. That's it. That's what it should be, because that's a proper return on taxpayer investment. This ain't hard to understand. I think y'all just want to.
It's not hard to understand.
Y'all just having some fun with me. I'm gonna move on here. Y'all having some
It's
fun.
easy to understand. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But
It makes perfect
understand.
Who's going to own the data? That's what Kevin was talking about. The Zuckerbergs and all these people getting involved with it. Who's going to own the data? Who's going to own that?
Who's going to own the data? It should be
Who's
a
own the data?
Utilities and
Who's going to
everything.
own the data? That's where.
Who's going to own the data?
Who's going to own the data?
Who's gonna create the docking systems? I mean, there are so many different ways to make money off of this. I'm a homer. I don't know about you, but I always root for the home team. Y'all must not be homers. I'm a homer. I want Cincinnatians, Hamilton Countyans, and Ohioans to win over everybody. So
quality matters, and so especially in policing, and so you get to the first situation where they're not able to obtain or collect certain video evidence that's necessary for a particular case, and we're gonna be all over whatever company.
And then you got the news. Got their drones up. As soon as they hear the 911 scanner, the news has got their drones up. All WLWT, WCPO, and then they got all these distorted venues trying to put their own stuff out. I think, Nathan, I'm with you on this one, not about 100%, but I really understand what you're saying. And the fact that Phil is
what percentage? Give me a percentage. You're not 100% with him. Give me a percentage. Give me a percentage. How much you with him? You ain't 100%.
About 80,
40%,
about 80. Because I'm about 80.
Drone development is happening in Ohio and in the area.
In the area, he's talking about in the area. I'm talking about. I'm seeing how we can implement this over in Kentucky because it's feasible. If I'm looking over and I'm saying they're using drones in Ohio to surveillance and to do something that can lighten up the work on the police officers, and it's a feasible amount that we can do in my municipality, I'm all watching. I'm watching. And if I can bring that in my constituency and say, hey, this is going to be something that we need to get in front of for the future that's going to help our future kids be better surveillance and be in front of this AI technology and drone technology, I'm all for it. That's why
I'm gonna tell you something.
I'm gonna love to see Terrace. I'm gonna love to see Terrace in the Kentucky legislature argue for these manufacturing jobs to come in, all these good paying union jobs that Republicans hate. I'm gonna love to see him argue that with his party about bringing in these high-paying union jobs.
Why wouldn't they want that?
And all of the regulations that Nathan wants to see with the drone industry. I'm gonna love to see you get unelected running on that platform in Kentucky.
I mean, Phil, laughter does not replace a good argument. You keep giggling.
Sorry, excuse me.
But you can laugh all you want to, but you ain't really said nothing that makes any sense.
I was rude. Forgive me, Nathan.
No, you're not being rude. I'm just saying. I mean, if you add to the conversation, but them giggles don't mean nothing at all.
What's the word?
Condescending
or something.
Condescending. It's called condescending is what you do. The word you use.
I'm just letting the record be known. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I want to hear what you actually say that actually has some merit behind it that makes sense. Because there are as Adonica said, there are drone manufacturers in Ohio. So why are y'all acting like all of a sudden there are no drone manufacturers in the state? I believe in the ingenuity of Ohio.
It's not about there being drone manufacturers in the state. See, this is what you're doing.
It sounds like it was. It sounds like you said earlier that there's only one or two and that there won't be enough to have competition.
Stick with what you said, because you're doing what you accuse me of. You're moving the argument all over the place.
Actually, I'm not.
First you said that Cincinnati, if you buy drone, if Cincinnati is buying drones, the drones need in Cincinnati and they need to be bought from the drone manufacturer in Cincinnati. So if that's a rule to live by, then and that's Cincinnati jobs. So if that
wasn't the only thing I said, but I did say that, but that wasn't the only thing that I said.
If that perpetuates around the state, so let's just say Columbus has a manufacturer of drones. Let's say Cleveland has a manufacturer of drones.
Yeah.
Let's say some other place. Do you really think that in the state of Ohio alone, because under your idea, every state would do this same thing, that they would have their own drone manufacturers where they are? Do you really think that the demand is that high?
Yes, I really do.
That it can support all of those different manufacturing facilities and the jobs that go along with them to produce drones? You really
absolutely?
Think
what makes you think otherwise than that?
Okay,
no.
All right.
Of course, absolutely. What makes you think other than that?
We need to get an economist on here.
What makes you think otherwise?
Because I just don't.
Let me say it again. Let me elucidate what I said once again, so make sure we get it correct. What I said for now the fifth time is there needs to be a hierarchy, right? If we're looking at the state of Cincinnati, the city of Cincinnati, if you have drones that are going to be manufacturers, there should be a preference on Cincinnati-based drone manufacturers. If you cannot find somebody there that can create the kind of standards and scale, then you move to the county level. If you cannot find at the county level the quality and scale, you move to the state level. And if you can't find it there, then you can look at other states. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what's wrong. What's wrong with
In
it
theory, it ain't
is those
practical.
companies can
It's not
price
practical.
their products.
It's extremely practical.
They can no. If you are eliminating all the drone companies, let's say outside Cincinnati, and you have a drone company in Cincinnati or two, you don't think they're going to raise their prices so high because they have a monopoly? They know
No, I
you
don't.
Can, you can cap it. You can easily, Phil, you
Exactly.
can cap it. You can cap it. You can say, this is the amount of money
So
that
once
we have
again,
in our drone budget.
all of
And
these,
if you can do this,
regulations, this is the fantasy land that y'all live in politically.
It's the real
all
world
of
that we
these
live in already.
regulations that you're talking about politically, bro. I ain't saying it ain't a good idea.
They already do it, Kevin.
I live in reality. You talk about you a hometownist.
We all live in reality, Kevin.
I'm a hometown realist.
We
And
all
what
live
you're
in reality.
talking about, bro, is just not realistic.
It is
politically.
extremely realistic, and they do it
No,
right
it is
now.
not.
What are you talking
If
about?
it was realistic politically, Nathan, then why ain't it happening? You ain't the first person. This ain't some great grand idea. You're not the genius of the world.
Have
The
you
first
heard
person
anybody
that
else say it?
posited this idea. It's been thought of in other industries outside of drones, and it ain't happening. And you know why?
Have you
Because
heard anybody
capitalism.
offer this when it comes to drones? So far, I haven't heard anybody offer this.
No, I'm not talking about. You're saying drones specifically because it's a new industry and we ought to do this because it's emerging.
Yeah, we're talking about drones.
But you don't think there have been past emerging industries where people might have thought the same thing that you've been thinking, and
They do
it
it
just
already,
hasn't
Kevin.
happened. It doesn't happen because
It does
the
happen,
system ain't
Kevin.
gonna let it happen.
It happens all the time, Kevin.
It's just like I think reparations is a great idea. We should all.
It's
get
nothing
them,
like
bruh,
reparations.
In reality, it ain't happening.
It's nothing like reparations at all. It's a whole
It is, because this idea
issue.
is about as reasonable or as far-fetched as every black person in America getting a check.
Well, I will say
it's about that far-fetched.
No, the only similarity is your cynicism and your sarcasm about it. That's the only similarity.
Y'all are that's good.
Yeah, that's the only similarity. You're cynical about reparations, and you're cynical about this. That's the only thing that's similar about them. That's it. But let's move on.
I know how people are. I know how this country is. I know how we operate.
We all know how the country is.
And
we all know how the country is.
As I said, unless you have some type of revolutionary labor movement.
It doesn't take a revolutionary labor movement. It just takes political will and politicians that set a standard to say that we want tax dollars, or we want taxpayers to get a real return on tax dollars. That's it.
Politicians who rely on businesses to fill their coffers to run for elections. You just had Abtab Pureval take a whole bunch of money from the lenders, the richest people in Cincinnati, and he's a Democrat.
What's that have to do with our conversation?
It has everything to do with it. That big business interests control politics. They control politics. They control the mayor. They control everybody. And you can't get around that fact. Okay.
But what does that have to do with what we're talking about here?
If you don't see the point I've been making all along, that what you're proposing, Nathan, business interests are not going to go for it. You're talking about regulation. You're talking about introducing. They have done everything that they can to bust labor unions in manufacturing.
So what?
They don't want to pay people. Do you know how expensive it is to do business in the United States? That's why they send jobs overseas.
What's your point?
And American people are complicit because you don't want to pay $1,000 for your 50-inch TV. You want to go to Walmart and get it for $200 at Christmas. Nobody in America is paying $2,000 for a 75-inch TV. They're not going to do it.
We're talking about drones. You're
talking about you're talking about me moving the goalposts. You didn't talk about Abtab.
No, I'm talking about capitalism and business interests, bruh. They're not. There's a reason they manufacture.
We're talking. Let's see what TNT has to say. What do you say, TNT?
I was just saying we're talking about a government entity using drones with taxpayer dollars, so they can set a standard.
Exactly. Thank you.
It isn't big business that tells us how to spend our money.
So are they going to build? Are they going to build the facilities?
They absolutely can, and they could use that.
Okay.
That
Why haven't they? Then? Why haven't they?
This is an emerging industry, Kevin.
Why hasn't our city? If they're so easy, why hasn't the city of Cincinnati built any manufacturing plant in the city and put people to work? Why haven't they done that? Y'all are sitting here with this.
with
This
the
is an
state,
emerging
with the
industry.
county, and for everybody to work together
Come
to
on,
like
man.
bring
Y'all are
jobs
just
to
not being
Ohio.
realistic.
We're being
Y'all are
very
just not
realistic.
being
They do it all the time.
But that's if you're all inclusive and you're really trying to grow Ohio in a way, and in certain cities and major cities. But that's a conversation with the governor and state representatives and different ones.
Show me where they doing that. Show me any place in America where they're doing that.
Trying to
show you any place.
Just like when we were trying to get that rail system in the major cities, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Like, I mean, it's something that would have been really great for Ohio, transportation wise and everything else. But all parties got to be, and that required the federal government too. But it's just a lot of work in hands. For me, I hear what Nathan is saying. I understand what you guys are saying too, Kevin and Phil. It's just like, that's not been the regular practice, but it's not out of the realms of possibility of what can be done in this government if they want to set that as a standard. And they have done that with responsible bidding when it comes to like labor. Labor unions, they can definitely define who they want to get certain contracts.
They do it already. They do it already.
Yeah.
It's just like in the state of Ohio, and if I'm wrong about this, somebody set me straight. But as I understand it, in the state of Ohio, you get preference when you're an Ohio-based company and you're doing a bid with the state of Ohio. It's the same thing. So I don't even know what we're talking about here. They do it right now. They do it right now. So what I'm arguing is not out of the realm of possibility. They do it in Hamilton County. They do it with the state of Ohio already. So all I'm saying is add the drones to that. It's real simple. It's real simple. This is not some socialist grant. This is just saying add drones to the list. That's it. You're an Ohio-based drone manufacturer, you get preferential treatment when it comes to bidding. The state of Ohio already does that with Ohio-based companies. I don't understand why this is so hard to comprehend. It's real easy. It's real simple.
There's a difference between saying preferential and you must.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. It is not the same thing. I'm the one who said it, Kevin. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It is not the same thing. It is not the same thing.
What I meant. I'm the one who said it.
You may do this.
I'm the one who offered it up.
I'm
the one who offered it up. I'm telling you, that's the same thing. That's all I was saying. As I said, for the now 7th time, a hierarchy system. Cincinnati, Hamilton County, Ohio. Then you look otherwise. The way you do that is a preferential bidding system, which Ohio already does. Same thing. The same thing. If you're going to surveil me with my tax dollars, then put my brother to work. If you're going to surveil me with my tax dollars, then put my cousin in to work in the manufacturing company that makes the drones. This makes perfect sense.
Well,
this ain't hard. This is real easy.
I hope you're newly elected city councilor to this podcast, and I can't wait until one of your preferred candidates introduces this piece of legislation in City Hall. Let's get Scotty Johnson on here. Let's have Scotty introduce.
Yeah.
He'll love the idea.
Let's get Scotty's a friend of the program. Let's get him on and see.
Man, there isn't a local politician.
And let's see if this can get any traction over at 801 Plum Street.
Well, I mean, if you're serious about it, really get behind it and make it happen. But if I'm Scotty Johnson, if I'm on city council, I love the idea. There's nothing negative about it. I love the idea of using tax dollars. I love the idea of using tax dollars to not only surveil us and keep us safe in terms of law enforcement, right? Giving law enforcement a tool, but then I can use those same tax dollars to put Cincinnatians to work. It's a win-win on both ends. So I can't speak for Scotty or any members of city council, but as I sit here, they probably like the idea. Why not? Now they might run into some constraints with the state, but if I'm a state rep, I love the idea. It's a win-win. Law enforcement gets the tools they need. Ohioans get the jobs they need.
What's the composition of our state house?
In terms of the political composition or gender?
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the exact numbers, but it's overwhelmingly Republican.
Okay. Do you think they think more like you, or do you think they think more like Phil?
I think they think more like me in terms of putting Ohioans back to work. That's what I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, your guy, what? I think Ohio Republican, if you ask any of these Republican reps, are they concerned with putting Ohioans back to work? I cannot believe that any of them would say no.
Yeah, they're gonna say they're not gonna say no about putting Ohioans back to work. When you pitch your plan, they're gonna say hell no. That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say exactly what feels it. They're gonna laugh at you just
we
like
know Republicans are bought and sold.
program.
They are bought and sold.
Well, that's true or not?
Hey, not
And
this
that's my
Republican.
point.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or
Well,
not.
if I'm bought, I'm not cheap though. At least.
Yeah, I don't know if
That's for
I don't know if I believe that or not. I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, we can bring some on and run it past them. I mean, I feel that confident in it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't see what their again. Like I said, if you look at it right now, tell me I'm wrong. But as I understand it, you get preferential treatment with the state of Ohio in their bidding process if you are an Ohio-based company. This would be no different than business as usual already. So I don't know what you guys think is so funny or so outlandish, but y'all need to look up the state of Ohio and understand what we're really talking about. They're already doing it. So if I'm a state rep, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, I mean, it's business as usual. Yeah, put Ohioans to work. And matter of fact, I want it in my district. I want you to build a manufacturing plant in my district, because then I can go back to my electorate and say, hey, listen, I brought you some jobs. Isn't that what they do?
Yeah, Nathan, I think you're confusing the argument here. You're
Oh no, I think you're confusing the argument.
I'm not saying that I have never once said your idea is not admirable, that it's not something that wouldn't be good. I've just said that it's not realistic. It's not. That's my argument. I mean, we can all throw out ideas and things that would be nice to do. There are a lot of things that I think would be nice to do, but the way my argument is that the way the system is set up, that it's not going to happen that way.
Kevin, my friend, the system is already set up to give preferential treatment to Ohio companies when it comes to the bidding process. If I'm wrong, then let me know. But as I sit here right now, I'm pretty confident that that's the way it works. If you are I've said this 9 times already. If you are an Ohio-based company,
what else we got on deck? We got something else.
We'll move on. We'll move on when I finish this point. We'll move on when I finish this point. Yeah. But I'll say this one last time. In Ohio,
you promised the hierarchy.
If you are an Ohio-based company, you get preferential treatment in the bidding process for Ohio contracts. That's the way it already is. So it ain't about me coming up with a new idea. All I'm saying is put the drones in that same stop, in that same rubric, and do the same thing for the city of Cincinnati. That's all I'm saying. They're already doing it. But let's move on. We have beat this horse, but I had to make sure that y'all understood what we was really talking about, because I felt like y'all.
Nathan, say your argument one more time.
I felt like you was trying to. I feel like you was trying to clown it. Like maybe y'all don't really understand.
I mean, like you said, you said it 5 or 6 times. I think I got it. I just
we got it. Yeah.
Well, one more time could be the charm.
Well, Phil ran out of arguments and bullets a long time ago, so all he had is giggles and laughs. So it's all good. I have no problem with it. But I want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from.
Republicans don't need bullets, Nathan, in arguments. This is the thing that we've seen this over the history of the last 10 or 12 years. No bullets are required for Republicans to enter the fray.
Well, this is where, this is
the epitome of bringing a knife to a gunfight. Well, somehow they managed to win with that knife, though. That's the other thing. They got Trump in with a knife. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely got Trump in. I just want to make sure. More so for the audience, less about you guys. I want to make sure the audience understands what's really going on here. So look it up for yourself. But let's move on. Just one last topic. But let's talk about the fact of what's happening with the Department of War, which is troubling in and of itself. I mean, the Trump administration, or Trump ran on anti-war. He gets in office, and now he turns the Department of Defense into the Department of War. There's a lot of controversy surrounding what's happening with Venezuela. If you're not aware of it, I'll just give you a quick rundown. Essentially, the military has been for lack of a better term, they've been destroying boats. And they've been claiming that these boats are transporting drugs to America, and that constitutes self-defense. But what happened most recently is some information came out that they did a strike on a boat. There were 2 survivors, and now there's a controversy over the orders because what happened is the U.S. military did another strike, killing those 2 survivors, and people are now pointing fingers. Some people are pointing fingers at Trump. People are pointing fingers at the Department of War, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Some people are pointing fingers at an admiral. And some people are now saying in Congress that this constitutes war crimes. And I mean, there's so many questions here. I mean, the first question is this something that Americans should be concerned about? Does what's happening with these Venezuelan boats matter to us in any way? Or should we just rest on the fact that the sovereignty of our borders are being made more secure, that we're being made safer by these strikes? I mean, where do you fall on this? Is this a problem for us or not?
If you don't mind, I unfortunately have to jump off in about 10 minutes. So if
Sure.
you don't mind my weighing in, I'd also like to take
go right ahead.
another tangent. What they're doing with those boats, it's clearly illegal. It is unconstitutional. It constitutes a war crime. That's why the British and other countries now have stopped sharing intelligence about that area with the United States because they know it's a violation of international law. I mean, it's cut and dried that it is, okay? But a point that I want to bring up is there have been, for whatever reason, in this issue, there actually have been some people in my party that have had the guts to speak up about this. Rand Paul, Mike Turner, and a bunch of others, which to me is a shocking and a very positive development. But the question is, and they're all suggesting, okay, well, people are realizing Trump's a lame duck and therefore they're free to speak. You know, this is one of these situations where I hope I'm wrong because I still believe that come 2028, he's not leaving. Okay. And I hope I'm wrong about that. But I am interested in what you guys feel about that issue of, are these Republicans really have the guts to speak out against Trump, or is this just an isolated issue?
I agree with everybody in the chat right now. People are saying some great comments. Nat Turner, they're trying to set a scenario to invade Venezuela. It's about oil. It's about a lot of things. It's moving too fast. America wants Venezuela oil. That's Lemmy Johnson. Adonica Hegseth is killing innocent people and committing war crimes. All of them need to be locked up. Absolutely. Everybody is on point. Pete Hegseth, he's probably on the first one that'll be on his way out the door because these are definitely war crimes. We're not in war with Venezuela. That's one. We have the Coast Guard that can apprehend drug assailants or drug crimes or whatever. And everyone, even if you're not a citizen, have a right to their day in court. So even to be accused, they're not providing any information to even their accusations that these individuals are drug terrorists or whatever they're calling them, and they're killing them on contact. And this last one that happened in September regarding, this supposed drug boat, they shot it once, and then the people didn't die, and so they shot at it against, and it's against the laws of international law and even our own laws as far as active wars of our actions that our military take when someone has surrendered or they're not capable and they're not any threat to our country. They never posed a threat. These are like crimes of like drugs, which is really out of the realms of the Department of Defense. He is stepping way out of line, and their agenda is much higher than what is going on. The government there is a lot going on, the oil and everything else, and they just want to take it over. But at the same time, when it's all said and done, if it doesn't happen in the next couple of months, when he has to go before the committee and speak on this, because right now it seems like they're trying to pass the buck on the admiral or the person below him, but at the same time, they still have to take their orders from the top. Somebody is going to have to answer for this. And I think Pete Hess says his days are numbered. He came into the door with the lowest ratings of support. They really didn't even want him in there on both sides. So that's why I think why you're starting to see people in your party feel, he barely got in there, but just to come in and now you're doing this, you're treating our soldiers like toy soldiers and creating all this friction and acts of war. You didn't even go to Congress, and you're not even providing information or evidence to even prove that the people you're accusing, just like what we were doing earlier, that they committed any crimes. They haven't had any day in court, and the people that survive, you're killing them. You know what I mean? After that, you can't do that. So it's all wrong on all levels, and it'd be very interesting to see, because they're already scaling back what, their original support. Like there was some statement out there that Hegseth said, go ahead, kill them all. Like he gave that command, and now he's trying to scale back and say, well, the people under me, they're doing this on their own. Like who believes that? But I guess when they do their investigation, we'll find out the truth. But somebody's head is going to roll, because like Phil said, this is unconstitutional, and these are war crimes that they're breaking.
Can I make an interesting point that in order for there to be a war crime, there has to be, like you said, an active war. We have not had an active war in the United States of America since the 40s, so like 80 some years. So even
then it's murder. If it's not a war crime, there's no war, it's murder.
Like I was saying, if the Department of War so wants to enact and strike these vessels, claiming that they are smuggling drugs and bringing fentanyl and causing fentanyl's deaths, because what is the most leading death in the United States of America? Above anything else,
fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela. It comes from another country. It doesn't come from Venezuela.
Wait a minute.
I mean, no, you aren't even letting me. Why do I even speak if y'all can't even finish my part before y'all start chopping it apart? I didn't even get 30 seconds. If they're saying that the cartel and is the proof that the cartel and Venezuela's president is being heavily funded by the cartel who is supplying the fentanyl to who they're saying they're smuggling the fentanyl into the United States of America, which is the leading cause of death in the United States of America. Fentanyl, nothing more. No, there's not even questionable what's the leading cause of death. It's fentanyl. So if they can tie this into the war on drugs and then tie it into the cartel and the Mexican president, and then above all that, go in after the resources, the oil, and the natural resources that they need for AI and technology. Of course, they're going to pick on little, innocent, vulnerable Venezuela. It's an easy target. But to say this is the art of war. They're not just going. They're not doing it for no reason. Like they're picking up. Yeah, they're saying, oh yeah, we're going in here for a specific reason. We have this probable cause, just like Dick Cheney did back whenever he went in for the weapons of mass destruction that was never found out. But you know what Dick Cheney said? He said, after it's all over and done with, I'm okay with my decisions. Let the people sort it out after I'm done. So that's the same approach that they're taking in this part right now. You might not agree with it, you might not like it, but they're good with it, and they're going to let history sit with it and let history tell the story.
They're going to go to jail. They're going to go to jail because they're breaking the law.
That's what they said about Oliver North. They said Ollie North was going to jail back in the day. Come on.
Last Trump administration, everyone around him went to jail. Rudy Giuliani, they lost their money and everything else. So this is going to happen again. They are breaking the law. That's what the Coast Guard is for. They can apprehend those little banana boats or whatever they are. They are no threat or danger to the United States. And they bring people to justice so they have their day in court. You do not kill people off allegations and you have no evidence, no proof, and you don't even bring that to Congress. They are breaking the law and they're going to go to jail. Not only will he need to be removed from that position, but he's going to go to jail.
Terrence, I have to say the reason why people jump in on you is because your arguments are so deliciously bad. We're like having this goal that we can't wait to jump on it and get a piece. So that is how you make it so appetizing, man.
It's because you guys hear each other all the time. You guys don't hear any kind of alternate talking points. So as soon as somebody kicks back on you on an alternate talking point, you'll automatically no. I can't even hear anything that goes outside my.
I've never heard the word delicious used in this context before.
Hey, no, I'm just messing with Terrace. Terrace has actually made some solid points a few times today.
When?
So I'm just messing with him on that because he got on us for jumping on him. But I agree with everything that TNT said. I mean, here's the thing: since when did drug dealing become punishable by a missile strike? If
Whenever
that's the
number one killer in the United States of America.
Wait a minute, man. Let me get it out. When did it become punishable by a missile strike? This is the hypocrisy and the continued hypocrisy that the United States has always had about this war, this quote unquote war on drugs. Before I finish that point, if you're going to call yourself the Department of War, isn't any act you take an act of war? I'm just saying, just technically, that would be correct. If you're going to call yourself the Department of War, any action that you would take would be an act of war. I'm just saying, that's just, to put that in order. I know technically, legally, that might not be the case, Terrace, but I'm just saying. But at any rate, the hypocrisy of this war on drugs is America has no real interest in really dealing with the drug problem. Because the drug problem is bigger than Venezuela, is bigger than Mexico. There are a whole lot of people here in the United States, politicians, big corporations, everything that got their hands in the guns and the drugs. And there is no honest or earnest effort to really deal with the drug situation in any real way in America. This is just, as TNT said, an unconstitutional and illegal cover for other things that they want to do, to get oil and every other thing that they want to be able to do to have an excuse to do that. She's exactly right. You're violating people's due rights. You don't even know that there's drugs on these boats. And unfortunately, we'll never know in some of these situations because they blew them to smithereens. You can't do that type of thing, or we shouldn't do that. It's not like these boats are coming across with missiles and bombs and things that are direct threat. They're saying themselves that these are drug vessels that they believe that they're destroying. So I don't think that those are actions that, and I'm not minimizing the threat that drugs have to the United States and the population of the United States, but it's time for us to put aside this sort of ideological argument about this war on drugs that we're trying to wage until we're going to have an earnest conversation about there never really has been an appetite in this country to honestly deal with, regulate, and get rid of the drug problem in America. One, because Americans love their drugs. Some of them do. And there are too many people in too many powerful positions that profit from it. That if they wanted to, they could shut it down if they really did. But there's no real earnest desire to do that.
Yeah, I think to Phil's point, everything I've read so far just keeps coming back that fentanyl does not come from Venezuela. It comes from Mexico. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just what keeps coming up on my timeline and what I keep reading.
I thought they said it came from China.
Wasn't
that what they said all the time?
When it comes to the military industrial complex system, they don't care. When it comes to the bigger push behind this thing, I get what you guys are saying. It's all war crimes. Yeah, what they're doing is bad. But you've seen what the lengths that they will go. What Dick Cheney and George W. Bush, with all the lies that they told, all the lies they told, lives they impacted by sending our brothers and sisters over to Iraq and fighting and coming back with PTSD over some wars of mass destruction that were never found. That's what I'm saying. We're thinking logical. We're trying to think these illogical war machine, military and complex people are thinking like regular people. They're thinking like, yeah, they're playing Battleship out here with these drug lords who are smuggling drugs, and if we don't get them the first time, we're gonna go back and get them again, and who's gonna do nothing because we're fighting fentanyl, and if not, we'll see you on the road way around. I get what you guys are saying, but when it comes to war and realistic, and like we can even go back to like I said, Oliver North, whenever he took the hit for all this stuff. Hashtag's going to be the next Oliver North. Back in the day, my dad used to make me read Army Times in the 80s and the 90s, and now I understand why. All this stuff that we're seeing, hashtag and all this stuff, dude, this same stuff they did before. And they find a fall guy, which Headstack will be the fall guy. He'll go in front of all these congressional things and skate out, write a book, and then 10 years later, it'll be going to the same thing over and over again. That's why I think this Venezuela strikes, there's nothing more than just them playing war and going after people who are vulnerable, and we're going to get the resources one way or another.
And you're okay with that?
It's war, man. It's
but
war.
I thought that MAGA and Republicans were anti-war. That's what Trump
MAGA stuff, man.
MAGA. That's why I said MAGA and Republicans who voted for Trump. Trump said he was anti-war. He ran on that. No more wars. No more senseless wars. No more needless wars. Isn't this a needless war?
Man, and the act of war is supposed to be approved by Congress. And Congress don't know anything about this. So he is in total violation. He is acting out of the realms of his responsibility as the Department of Defense or War. They supposed to be informing the Congress, and they have not done that. You know what I'm saying? And so
I think we do have to be somewhat careful in that, in terms of, look, the presidents have authorized drone strikes before, including President Obama
was a drone king. He was the king of it.
Have authorized drone strikes before without the approval of Congress. So I think, you're getting into somewhat of a, I'm not saying you're wrong, TNT, but I'm saying that with this Supreme Court and the precedent that's been set, I don't think that there's much likelihood that any of this will blow back on Trump
immediately. 24 to 48 hours after that action, if it was like an emergent situation, like you talk about Osama bin Laden or some other situation where they had to like react quickly, we're not even in the realms of war. Nobody know what's going on, and then we're talking about on such a low level of like drugs. That's why they're trying to call them drug terrorists, to make it seem like it's bigger than what it is, and it's not. And the mere fact that they are like reluctant to come before Congress and even explain, even to their own Republican members, of like, well, what's really going on? That, I mean, it's really just like arrogant to a degree of like, what makes you think you could just do these things, kill people, and not answer for it, even if it's like within 24, 48 hours, and provide some evidence to like people can comfortably understand. And like they said, it's so easy. It's already video surveillance. We see the video and stuff. Like, why can't you come in, explain what's going on, and explain it away? Nobody even wants to explain it away. So, I don't know. It's just like,
Nathan, you asked the question, should it was terrorists okay with it? And he was like, it's war. Here's why Trump can effectively get away with this, particularly with some portions of his base, so to speak, and why people are not more outraged about this. It's kind of the same. It kind of goes back to our initial conversation about sending in the police dog on the 16-year-old young man and him being brutalized in that way. What Trump is very adept at doing is targeting people that people don't feel bad saying, oh, I'm glad that happened to you, or I don't feel sorry for you, this happened to you. So drug dealers, if you deal in drugs, then you get what you get. If you're an immigrant who comes into this country, then you get what you get. If you're a 16-year-old who might have been posing with a gun or didn't come, then you kind of get what you get. And that appeals to a certain part of his base who likes the fact that Donald Trump takes this posture of, we're not going to take crap from the drug dealers and the murders and rape. He's very good at painting those he wants to attack in a negative light, where his base can get behind it and say, well, why are y'all defending drug dealers and murderers and rapists and people who come across illegally? Why are y'all defending them? And it's not necessarily that you're defending what they're about or the actions. What we're defending is who we are and the protection of due process and justice and people's rights. Yes, if you break the law, you need to be held accountable, but you deserve to make it to your day in court to stand ground for the laws that you violated. You don't deserve to be executed without any evidence or case being built against you. You know, you don't deserve to have your family separated from you if you're here under an asylum claim and you're waiting for this, that, and the other. You should be able to allow the process to work out. And if you don't deserve to be here as an immigrant, then fine. You've gone through the process. You got to go. If you're a drug dealer and you get apprehended by police and you got drugs on you and the evidence, see you in front of the judge. You got to go. But you cannot summarily act as judge, jury, and executioner. And that is what people who have a problem with Trump is doing, are defending. They're defending due process, the things we believe in as Americans, not necessarily the illegal acts of the people who are involved in these situations. Yeah. Trump is very good at painting those villains to the point where people are comfortable with saying, we don't care what happens to them.
Yeah, I agree.
They got what they deserve.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said. I think, yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, and I think that's one way. Yeah, I'm with you. But here's another question that's more on the pro-Trump side. Like, how many times in history has America been criticized for not acting early enough? Why should this be any different? I mean, let's say that they've got some information. I mean, they are the federal government. They are the U.S. military. They are the Department of so-called War. They got all the intel. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe it is fentanyl. Maybe it is some kind of drug. Maybe that is what they're trying to do. I mean, it's like you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but then you look at who is the leadership and you're like, can I really give them the benefit of the doubt? I mean, but maybe they're right. Maybe they're stopping. Let's say it is fentanyl. Let's say it is fentanyl. We know fentanyl is a deadly disease. It's a scourge in our communities, many of them across the country. Would that justify what they're doing now in your head?
No, because we don't kill people in the United States for selling fentanyl and trafficking in fentanyl. This is what is ridiculous about that argument. And this is why I say it's a slippery slope. If you think it's okay to drop a drone strike on a boat carrying fentanyl, then what are you going to say if they do a drone strike on a house that has fentanyl inside the house in the United States? Would you be okay with that? What is the difference between a boat carrying fentanyl and a house full of fentanyl coming into the United States versus a house full of fentanyl in the United States actually distributing it to people?
Let me answer that.
Right.
With no due process. Just a bomb on your house and you being accused of it. And no one will ever know the truth because your house has been blown to smithereens. So
if you're the president of the United States and then you talk to the president of Venezuela and the Venezuela is compromised by the cartel, allegedly compromised by the cartel, and you send them a message. You say, how can you do that?
They are a sovereign country. They are a sovereign country.
You're a sovereign country, and say Donald Trump is talking to his administration and say, hey, we know that's fentanyl. We got intel. Fentanyl's coming in from Venezuela, from these boats that we're seeing. The Coast Guard's telling us we got this information, and if you won't stop it, turn them back. And the Venezuela president is compromised by the cartel, and he says, Trump, we don't have to listen to you. And he sends a message. Boom. Let's go.
I'm with Terrence on this. I'm with Terrence. Terrence is making again, sort of for the sake of this argument, I'm with Terrence. Like, we are sick and tired of playing games. And see, Kevin expertly, super intelligent, picked up on the themes that's running between these topics, because there are some similarities between this and what we talked about. It's like, does the ends justify the means, right? You know, the young man was supposed to come out. He didn't come out the bedroom, so they sent the dogs in. Well, we're sick and tired of dealing with drugs. And so if we gotta break a few little rules and unalive some people, unfortunately, to send a message to the drug cartel that we're serious, then hey, that's what we gotta do. Is there any merit to that argument?
Then why not simply invade the country? Why not simply send in the United States is the greatest military planet. And this is why I say, like, this is the ridiculousness of some of the positions that they try to take on these issues, because again, If we were serious about taking out these drug cartels and eliminating the situation, we have the most powerful military force on the planet. So if we're not playing games and we sick of messing around with Mexico or Venezuela or whoever else, hey man, let's just go and drop a bomb on them. Send in the military. Let's clear them out. We could take out the cartels tomorrow if that's what we wanted to do. If we ain't playing, but bombing a fishing boat is not a sign, is not sending any kind of message that we're not playing. Invading a country and saying we ain't playing and we're gonna take out your cartel, your leadership, and anybody in the government that's complicit, that would be sending a message. But you know why we're not going to do that? Because that would violate a whole bunch of international rules and laws, and there's a reason why those laws are in place, which is exactly my point about why you don't do what the United States is doing in this instance, particularly with a small fishing boat that's coming in. And when you could have, to TNT's point, when you could have simply sent out the Coast Guard with a show of force and you could have turned them back. Now, if they resist, if they pull out some guns, if they open fire, well, then it is what it is at that point. You done took your life into your own hands and you basically, you wanted the smoke, you got the smoke. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. But what they're doing is just, it's un-American. And it's not I get what people are saying, oh, this is a threat to national security, this fentanyl and all that. And I'm saying, okay, if you're going to take that posture about it coming into the country from other countries, then what posture are you going to take within the borders of the United States with the stuff that's already here, that's being distributed?
But these are American citizens, though. That's what they'll say. They'll say, hey, we're American citizens. It's different with American citizens.
Two things can be the same thing at the same time. And you guys are absolutely correct. I'm saying all what I'm saying, and I'm saying cherry on top to get the oil and to get the natural resources that Venezuela has to further Apple and all these chip stuff, the natural resources that Venezuela has. So they're looking at this and saying, posturing this as a excuse, sort of like the weapons of mass destruction, and it pulled on people's heartstrings, especially after 9/11. You can tell anybody the Muslim hate went so far up in the United States of America after that happened, after 9/11, and they played on the heartstrings of people. So that's similar to what they're playing on the heartstrings of people who have been affected by fentanyl. It's the leading killer. It's been affected not by me and you and our demographic of people. We're talking about most of these people who are in Congress and who are lawmakers, who are lobbyists, who got the money. Their families have been affected by fentanyl. Probably, if it's a leading killer, I'd say one of their family members have been affected by fentanyl. So that's why it's easier to string the heartstrings to say, oh yeah, no, Trump's doing a good job. He's going over there. He's trying to stop these cartel from doing this. And then Trump's like, oh yeah, we can easily manipulate these people. And on top of that, get the oil and the natural resources that we need in the meantime.
No, it's just about the oil and resources. And to show you the hypocrisy, just like what's being said in the chat, Nat Turner, he said he just pardoned a cartel leader. Honduran ex-president Juan Orlando Hernandez released from U.S. prison after Trump. If you are serious about drug cartel and fentanyl, like you said, in them heartstrings, why are you pardoning a drug cartel leader? And we have him in our Trump. And you get the hell out of here. And then if you're serious about all this, you got all of this proof that these people were doing these things. That strike happened September the 2nd. It is December the 2nd, a whole month later. Why are you not bringing forth any evidence to prove and show what you did was legal? Why are they still waiting on any evidence and information? Because they're full of it. It's hypocrisy. They don't care about the drugs. It's bigger than that. We know it's about the oil. We know it's about the government over there, and they're trying to shake things up and get control of it. But at the same time, no, the American people are smarter than that, and the heads is going to roll for these acts of war crimes that they're committing.
Trump is the most powerful president that we have ever seen, and we may ever seen in our lifetime. He can do whatever he wants to do because Congress, majority Republican, are not doing their oversight job. They're not going to do anything at this point. There's some signs that things might be changing. Some Republicans might be leaving Congress. That might shift the balance of power, which I think would be very interesting to see Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House. But do you think that there should be mass hearings about this? And if they find evidence, do you think that Trump should be impeached?
Oh yeah.
Well, definitely there should be hearings. There without question, there should be hearings. I mean, as I was saying earlier to TNT's point, I think because of I think making this a war crimes argument to impeach Trump, I think will be a tough argument, particularly with this Congress, particularly with this Supreme Court. I just don't think you can make it stick to him. Now, can you get a Hegseth? Can you get some of the people underneath him? I mean, I think that's been Trump's MO all along, is he does the dirt and everybody else underneath him pays the price. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, if there were some hearings and Hegseth or some of the or someone lesser underneath him that they could lay the blame on. If it get too hot, winds up paying the price for it. But I'm not a big believer that anything from this is going to stick to Trump or result in any kind of impeachment. I mean, I think Trump is already is a bit in lame duck status. And I do think that some Republicans are waking up to the notion of, hey, I don't have to bend to every one of his whims. I think you've seen some of that more recently. You got to keep an eye on it. I mean, they still kiss a lot of Trump butt. So I'm not going to say that they're completely converted, but some of them are standing up and showing a little bit of backbone. And I think the more exposure he gets, the more weakness he shows. And I'm not just talking about weakness in policy and approval ratings. I mean, if you look at Trump, people made a lot about Joe Biden getting older, and some slippage with Joe Biden. If you're paying attention to Donald Trump, there's some slippage. I mean, beyond just the normal craziness of Trump and how he rambles and goes on, there's a little bit extra on it. Now, the MAGA sycophants and all of his supporters, they'll argue against that and say, oh, you're just trying to say that because we said that about Biden. No, if you watch the man, there's some slippage. And I'm not concerned about him running in 2028, not because I don't think he wouldn't try it, but I just don't think he's going to be in any kind of healthy position to be able to present a legitimate case to run for president in 2028. And I think the slippage is only going to get worse here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, they're doing these MRIs. Talking about he did Trump had an interview in which they asked him, where did he get an MRI? He said, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know where you got an MRI? Just a couple days ago, the White House press secretary was talking about a preventive MRI. So something is up. But I feel the same way about Trump and his health as I do about Joe Biden. Like, if they're covering it up, okay, I get it. I don't think that the United States benefits from having a leader that appears to be frail or weak or sickly. So when people were criticizing Democrats for covering up for Joe Biden, I'm like, yeah. And same thing with Republicans. If they're covering for him, I get it. How do we benefit from people thinking our president is weak? We don't. So I get why they might do that, no matter whether it's a Democrat or Republican. But I agree with you. I've seen the images I see of him, the stuff coming out of his mouth. He doesn't seem to be as sharp as he was his first term. And I don't think that's good for anybody. That's not good for anybody.
He acts demented. Biden lives rent-free in his head.
Oh.
It's ridiculous. And when he has any of his press conferences or whatever, I mean, he goes off the rail, off topic. I mean, but he was doing that. Yeah, he was doing that when he was campaigning. And I don't understand what people saw, because he wasn't talking about anything that was going to improve your lives. It was just about a bunch of jokes, a whole lot of Biden, a whole lot of Obama, rent-free in his head. And he it's just like a patient in a nursing home that just stuck on certain things. And it's just a habitual liar. Like, they had to do so much fact checks with his press conference today about how he's trying to inflate the economy. And then he said, affordability is a Democratic con, just like the Epstein files and everything. This is a Democratic con machine, and now affordability, this is another Democratic con. So, it's like a total insult to the intelligence of the American people to have someone in office think that he could just say anything and that's just going to ride and go, and you don't take in consideration the polls, the politics, these races, these special elections, everything showing you and that you are going down. Like nobody's believing what you're saying. They're not buying what you're selling anymore. And so he just sounds crazy and rambling, but I don't know. That's your president.
Yeah, that's our president. That's all of our presidents right now. Well, that's all I got, folks. We went way longer. I held on to that topic way too long. My apologies on that. I've been up since 3 a.m. working on stuff, so I just couldn't. In my head, I was like, "What are y'all talking about?" I couldn't understand it, but it doesn't matter. I'll be better in the future. My apologies if necessary. Shout out to Phil for being a part of the show today. He had to get off, and shout out to you and everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. We're planning on being back on Friday. Hopefully, I'll get some sleep by then, and I can come a lot more awoke than I am right now. But I appreciate everybody. And shout out to Kevin, Terrace, TNT, and Phil, and the audience, the crew. Really appreciate you. And have a great day. We'll be back on Friday.
All right.
Yep. Take it easy, everybody.
See you guys.